Alrighty then. We are live. It is Friday night, and a bunch of veterans are on camera. Crazy, crazy evening. We'll give everybody a second to kind of log in wherever you're seeing us. We're on YouTube. We are on LinkedIn. We are on Facebook. We are across a few different platforms, so feel free to share, to invite. We're going to be talking about a lot of things. So while folks kind of tune on in, we'll do a quick round robin and do it again in a second. But my name is DP, founder of Veterans Network Champions Club, and I have the pleasure of spending a few moments with some amazing people behind the scenes who are joining me today. So, gonna kick it over to the lady above me as the Air Force flies above the Army for overhead cover. That's strategic. Note. One of
Ha.
our lead advisors, Amy Lacey. Introduce yourself.
Hi guys, I'm Amy. I am an Air Force veteran. I was in for 11 years. I was in the medical field. I did dental, and I've been in the veteran space for a little over 3 years now. And I'm happy to be here hanging out with you guys tonight. I got a new microphone, so I don't have my pink one,
Uh
but I
oh.
got one to go along with Friday Night Live. So I can't pick it up. I'm gonna figure out how to pick it up and
I,
do
I,
it.
I don't know how I feel about this change
Since
of.
Brian put in some of my batteries, I had to get a new
Dang it.
microphone, and it looks super cool. It looks super fancy. It matches the Friday Night Live microphone that's
Like
on
this,
the intro. So
like
yes,
the whole night.
no,
Nice.
I'm
Just
afraid
stay
it's
like this the
the
whole night, just talking. Once you
okay.
do that, just
See,
don't put it down. Just keep holding it the whole
yeah,
time.
see,
Yep,
just
there
hold
you
it the
go.
whole
Okay,
time.
everybody.
Yep. Hey everybody.
There you go. All ominous now. Let's see, and we have my brother from another mother. Brian Lofton is in the building.
Yo, what's up? Coming to you live Friday night. No, just kidding. Um, oh man, hey, no, it's this is awesome. And by the way, I did get some new boxes, but I just haven't, don't have any packing material yet. So still have the battery.
it's coming.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
coming.
we'll
Still
get there. It
coming.
just might take a little bit.
It's just a year and some change. Still
No
coming.
Yeah,
one is keeping track. It's not a
who's
big
counting?
thing.
Who's counting? But Brian Lofton, disabled Army vet. Uh, Good to hang out with my brother and my sister here, and yeah, this is always a fun time, man. Just have so much fun stuff going on, so much activity going on in the background, so much activity going on helping vets with their claims, and we've been doing this for years now, and it never gets old. It's just it's awesome. I love it, and I just love the activity that's going on even more recently because we've got a new face mask, facelift or whatever they call it,
Hmm.
on so many things. So yeah, good to be here with everybody.
No, it is amazing. For those watching again, let us know your branch of service. You got some folks that are here with us, switching things a little bit up today, so that's going to be pretty cool. We're just doing a quick check to make sure that all the channels are connected. But let's see who we have in the building. We have ACOPE is in the building. Thank you for tuning in. So we have ACOPE here saying howdy. Eric Schmidt is in the building. What is going on, Army? 1 point there. We should like a little tally. We're gonna do like a little tally thing to start seeing.
Oh, here
85
we
to
go.
87.
I think that's a net. I think that was a net. The ACOPE. I think
Annette
that's a net.
Copeland. Yep,
Yeah.
there
Mm-hmm.
you go. But we're on internets now, so we have
Yep.
to use the call sign. So respect the ACOPE. We got Willie Askew is in the building. Army 69 to 71. We got Areli Bennikin in the building saying good evening. Um,
Yes.
of course, Annette is representing the best branch in the service, Army. Just putting it out there. Um, Reggie's not online at the moment, but the Navy is well represented with Vincent Boyce in
Mm.
the
We
building.
got Navy coming in heavy
Oh,
tonight.
Vincent.
Yeah, we might switch it up a little bit. I don't know.
Mhm.
We're missing someone that we might have to kind of see how we balance this out. Because right now we got two Army, one Air Force, so it feels like a little lopsided. So we need a little balance to kind of
But
bring it
but
back.
I don't. I think it might be in subconscious, but there's something to the foundation
Hmm.
of the show being Army here.
Yeah, yeah. It's like the ground level type of
Oh,
thing.
I think I'm allergic to sneezed.
You,
Well,
you said you said
Army.
your allergies are kicking up.
Yeah, from the Army.
Oh, well,
Army
I can't
building.
I can't help you on that one. That sounds like a problem there that you have going on. Um, but let's see. We have Alicia is
Another
in.
Army.
Yeah, Alicia is in the building. We got Army.
Yeah.
Rachel is in the building. For those that are watching, wherever you may be watching,
Rachel.
we have a link to the YouTube channel. That's actually a better place for comments and things like that. So feel free to head on over wherever you may be. We got Anthony Dees is in the building, letting us know that he is Army. Aurelie
Ah,
uh,
Anthony.
Benekin
Oh my
is
gosh, I
also
love Mr.
Army.
D's.
Oh, wait a second. No, I misread that. I was so happy with Army that I just completely misread everything he said. Let me do that all over again. I did Anthony a disservice. Anthony is saying, I am here, Amy. I read,
Amy,
I
yes.
am here, Army. In my
Army.
mind, you see
Yes.
So
that? I see an A
I
and
don't know if you
an M.
remember. I don't know if you remember the D's, but him and his wife used to come on
Mm-hmm.
all the time. He's awesome. I'm so happy to see him here.
Yes. So yeah, we got some old school folks. We got some new school folks. It's actually pretty cool to see that whole mix coming about. So I liked it, and I
Yes.
think it's actually pretty dope. Let's see here. Do. Checking some comments. I feel like the more I look through the comments, like I'm missing somebody who's not around. So let me see if I could find them. We got the Air Force. Oh, wait a second. Doc P has to make a point to say Air Force is in the building. So there's that part.
There we
Thank
Um,
go.
you.
Doc P said
Thank
he's glad to
you.
be here. You know, it's we have two Lisas, and at this point, we just have to pretty much. I think it becomes a thing where we don't even have to say which is which. It just becomes interchangeable names of amazing people who are supporting. We have Lisa in the building. Lisa
Whoop,
Chaser.
whoop.
Yay, Lisa. We
Um,
love Lisa.
yeah, we have a bunch of good
Lisa's like
folks here.
such a
Yeah.
cute supporter, and
Hmm.
she always shows up. She's everywhere. She's always supporting us everywhere. So we thank you for that, Lisa.
Well,
Oh
Lisa's an OG, and she reminds me of one of our other OGs that we had to bring uh, and get the papers on. So we had a veteran who's been around for quite a while, and we were debating whether or not his time of service was correct because of the fact that he had a baby face. And I was like, no, we have to verify this. Sent us a DD-214, sent us some proof, and obviously we were to verify his service. So I don't see our brother Jerry in the comments today. So sadly, we're gonna have to just switch it around and just bring him on the show one good time. Ladies and gentlemen, it
Jerry!
is Jerry in the building.
Jerry's in the house tonight.
Jerry is in the house, representing, as you can see, his branch of service, the best branch of service. I'm not picking no fights because I don't want no beef with Mr. Jerry, who came here to pick a bone about his TD-214 and all the jazz. And look at his shirt. Do you see it? Do you see
Oh, look
that?
at that.
He,
Got the
he took
shirt
he took a
on.
point out of
Yes.
you, Amy. But over to Jerry. You've seen him in the comments. We've gone back and forth and so forth. Oh goodness gracious! There's
Oh,
a hat
no.
that came out. But I will let Jerry introduce himself very quickly and let you know his branch
Air
of service,
Force.
though you may see it next to his name. My brother Jerry, it's good to see you. Please introduce yourself to the peoples.
Evening, shipmates. Good to be here. Uh, I was a Vietnam veteran in the Navy. I served from 1966 to 1979. I did a lot of different jobs in the Navy and had a great time. And they asked me to come in and answer a few questions tonight about my experience. I'm uh, uh, 70% rated. Uh, and working on that last 30%. Uh, and I did the first claim on my own with a little bit of help from another organization. It was successful, and did another one, uh, and it wasn't successful because I got a little uh, cocky, I guess. I didn't quite develop fully develop my claim as much as I should have, and I was uh, sure about the second claim that I got depressed about it, and and didn't rebut it. But now I'm preparing a third claim on entirely new conditions, and working with Brian as my my benefit advisor, and
Yeah.
looking forward to putting that in real soon.
Yes. Let's
It
give.
it's in right now
This
for
is for.
independent medical opinion and nexus letter.
Yes. Well, this is
Yes.
for. Looking there. So obviously we're breaking the internet for a second here. So let's rewind because the minute we went to go look for Jerry in the comments and we didn't find him, we used some magical TV powers and brought him online. Let's see here. Mark says, "Holy cow! Wow, what just happened here? We went ahead and kind of moved and switched it up a little bit." So Kelly says, "What
Or
the heck? Just
was
wow."
he saying that about my hat? They
No,
could be saying
completely
that
about
about
Jerry
my hat.
because Jerry is in the mix.
Oh, okay.
Kelly, who was with
Because
us
I
on
whipped my
Wednesdays,
hat out real
no,
quick.
it's definitely not your hat at all. We're
Oh,
talking.
okay.
Kelly's even saying hoorah to Jerry, the most expensive taxi in the world. So she's giving you some slack because she's a Marine there. Let's see, we got Reggie's in the building. Good to see you. Go Navy. Still Navy is represented. Reggie holding it up for the Navy. Let's see here. Um, Let's see. Lisa says, Jerry, you are amazing. God bless you as well. We have Lisa as well with us on the backside. So cool to see Jerry on the show
Yes.
tonight. So we had to get some more Jerry. And the only way to get more Jerry is to bring him on. So um, to properly put it in perspective, Jerry's been with us obviously for quite a while, both supporting. You see, obviously, he's rocking, some of the OG swag that we have. So, again, to be able to have, one of our own here with us, I think it goes to show the fact that we're, trying to create something to have conversations and really hold space with our veterans. But specifically to Jerry, he's done some amazing things. Again, U.S. Navy, a few things to note because we had to get some background information. From 66 to 68, he was an enlisted machinist mate, third class, working with nuclear power. That's 1 point there. There you lost me with the nuclear side.
Mm-hmm.
68 to 72, then he becomes a midshipman at the U.S. Naval Academy. From 72 to 79, he commissions and has various capacities that he served with or as a surface warfare officer, as a shipyard liaison officer, aviation training, where he was working on as a navigator, multi-engine maritime patrol aircraft, detection and tracking of some nukes when that whole Russia thing was kind of going crazy there with Cuba and Angola. Aide to the commandant at the National War College in D.C., and a plethora of other things. So, needless to say, Jerry's been around the block just a few bit, done a few things here and there. One of the things I think was really cool as far as getting some information um, on Jerry was one of the questions as far as what is something that was be a fun fact about Jerry. And one of them that he put down was teaching, right? Being able to teach, being able to pay it forward, being able to help others. And I think being able to have even a conversation like this where we'll talk about what we're doing and kind of really bring in the club into the mix of what we have, I think is pretty amazing. So we actually had a team meeting not too long ago, did a pizza party virtually, which was kind of crazy. So I'm pretty sure that when Jerry heard that news, he thought it was kind of crazy to do a pizza party virtually, but we did do one virtually via Zoom. So that was cool to bring some folks into the mix. So let's start with that one. How crazy was it to be invited to your first virtual pizza party, Jerry?
You're talking to
Hmm?
me, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, it was absolutely amazing. Brian sent me a text saying, "What's your home address? We're gonna we're gonna have a pizza party." And I said, well, "Where are you located? You want me to come there? I thought you guys were in like Northern Virginia or something."
Hmm.
And he said, "Oh no, we're gonna have a pizza sent to you." And I said, "Oh, you got to be kidding me! I've never heard of anything like that." Well, sure enough, pizza showed up at the front door.
Yeah,
I couldn't
yeah.
believe it. It was fantastic.
A virtual pizza party. I'll tell you, ingenuity and a little bit of thinking, we'll figure something out to kind of jerry rig it. No pun intended.
Yeah,
um,
we had
It threw a couple
people
of our
in
own
this pizza
people.
party all over the world.
One person, his wife sent him away. because
Yeah,
they
so
were
we
like,
had
we
one
didn't
one
want a
of our
pizza.
advisors again, and now he's on the team. Completely is oblivious to the fact we're having a pizza party, and he's thinking it's a virtual thing that we're doing. I'm like, no, there's a pizza at the front door, and they're asking for you. And the wife was like, "There's no pizza here. Go away." And the wife pretty much sent the delivery guy away. So, needless to say, that was pretty crazy. Let's see, we got Carlos Cortez in the building. How are y'all doing? This is
Hey,
pretty cool. Thanks
Carlo.
for the invite, Amy.
All
Um,
right.
so
Yeah,
thank you for
thanks for
inviting
coming.
Amy, another Army veteran of 11 years.
All right.
Let's bring it out there.
Way to go, Carlo.
I don't hold it against my vets. I don't hold it against my vets. Another army.
I'm just reading the comments as they
Okay.
come because up here, since Amy will not play nice, right here you see this little moving bar. Yeah, if you can comment your branch of service and the time you served, we'll go ahead and pop that up. So let's see. Andres is in the house. 24 years veteran, 4 Navy. There you go. 1 year Army, and the rest in the National Guard. Um,
Nice.
let's see. So pretty cool to kind of mix it up in that regard. So to Brian's point, some pretty amazing things. So a lot has been kind of going on. So we'll do a quick recap. Since last we've been on, Brian, you've been pretty busy. Obviously, you're also working with with Jerry on his claim. So we'll talk a little bit about claims as well. We'll answer some questions. We have some things that are coming out in the mix as well. So even down to, and I want to be able to actually just kick it over to Jerry too after, specifically for the course. So we talked about the course that we launched. We literally wanted feedback. So we brought Jerry in to even review the course, give us some feedback, and I have to say that now that you all know a little bit more about Jerry, uh, his feedback was amazing, and I say that in
Hmm.
the sense that Jerry came at this full blown engineer compared to what Brian, what I would have given Brian. Right, my feedback would have been pretty simple, like, well, add some of this, remove a comma, fix that, and Jerry came at us completely, very objectively in a way that was like very thorough, and it speaks to the point where I really enjoyed the fact that even Jerry took time not only to go through the course and give us feedback, which he offered to support, but if we want to create something for someone else, right? And Jerry shared some of this where he's been through this process. He's got to where he's at with his rating. He's kind of coming into the last throes of the last few percentages there. But having have been out of service for a while, having have served, going through the hurdles and the headaches to come into this process of the VA claim dance, right? We want to make sure that we're able to support and teach different demographics of veteran. So that means we want to take feedback, right? It's not just the Amy Bryan DP class that teaches a thing, but really it's saying, hey, does this make sense? What is the feedback, right? Because if you truly want to create something to solve a problem, then be open to that feedback to make it better, right? Because it's just one of those things. So I'm really happy that, having a community to come and support is great. But Brian, over to you. Since last we saw online, how have we been? How have you been? What's going on? Even though we're all together, it's been a whirlwind of the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, it really has. And what was really exciting the last time we were on Friday Night Live is we had literally just launched our new website that day. And so that was exciting,
Mhm.
and I'm still pumped about it because it's so cool. It is 100% unique. There ain't no template to it, and that's my proper English. So when you're talking about proper feedback, um, so it's but we also had announced that we were getting close to launching the web course. Well, just a week later, we launched the web course, and thanks to Jerry, and we've got a few other dedicated, motivated individuals out there willing to support and do likewise. Got We've gotten a lot of great feedback, which just speaks to the fact that we spent over a year developing this course, brought in a professional educator, a professional course developer. Um, this took a lot of love and effort going into it, and so as much as I'm pumped about the website, I'm really pumped about the web courses equally so because man, I tell you what, just trying to roll the clock back to whenever I first started my claims, thinking, "Dadgum, if I had if I had this, who knows where I'd be right now?" Because, gosh, this is just so there's just nothing out there to compare it to. So um, yeah, it's been live now for a week, and um, got some great feedback, great review, and looking forward to others benefiting from it too. Because the reality is, as the awakening occurs, then it's I think it's just going to kind of explode. But I'm really just excited because it is such a complete course over VA claims. And uh, gosh, if you really just looking for a single resource to do it on your own, there's nothing out there compared to that type of resource. So yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
No,
and
100%.
Brian, you're absolutely right. There's nothing else like it. When I started this process years ago, it took me 2 years to educate myself when I worked with that other company that just provided me information to to understand what I was really doing in that claim before I was able to put that first claim in, and that was
Hmm.
2 years of effort. And when I saw this masterclass, when I reviewed it a couple weeks ago, I said, "This is absolutely amazing. This would have saved me at least a year and a half in putting in my first claim because it brought together all of the references to the same place. It told you the places to go, the forms to use. It gave you a 1, 2, 3, 4 step process, and I had to put all that together. I did all I had was data from here and there and yonder, and I had to go and read the CFR, and I had to read the VA administration legislation and statutes and requirements that they put in place, and understand what those forms are all about. Uh, and try to organize buddy letters, and it was just a big deal. And this there is nothing else like this. And uh, the first claim that I put in cost me nearly $2,000 uh, that I paid this other company in various fees. And I don't know what this course is going to come in at, but they told me a price point that they were thinking about. Well, it's an absolute bargain.
100%. And actually, and that's a good point. So, from your perspective, right, being able to at least kind of help and assist with even like the review, right, to kind of tweak things and make them better. How did that make you feel as a veteran? Because granted, right, you're already further along in your process, but knowing that someone else can benefit from something and you have some input, right, to tweak and make things better. How did that make you feel as far as not only just being a part of something like that, but the product itself of welcoming feedback like that from veterans? Because you know how it is sometimes, right? Solutions are
Mhm.
made, but you don't factor in exactly the customer base of who it's going for. Like, great idea, but implementation failure, right?
Hmm.
Well, I was really impressed with the product, frankly. For 2 years, I was the program manager as a contractor for the computer based training for the V-22 Osprey. We taught the co-pilots and the sensor operator and the crew chief and the maintainers. We did operators and maintainers on the V-22 for the Marine Corps under a Marine Corps contract, and I was the manager of that program, and we had uh, 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 doctoral level educators and curriculum courseware developers working on this automated tool that we had, and anything that we turned out was certainly nothing better than what we see here in the master class. Great product.
Awesome. And
That's
again,
awesome.
and we're really thankful that you jumped in to assist. So to kind of give a quick preview for folks, so this is the first page, obviously, of the course. So this is what it looks like once you kind of log in. Just kind of give a preview. So it's interactive. It actually has a variety of different things available, and it's just little things that you wouldn't think about, like having different folks give us feedback of stuff you wouldn't, consider. One, for example, being just even navigation toolbars, right? Visibility of stuff, making sure you know how to get somewhere. Because arrows mean something, but like one of the VSOs that helped us kind of also review it, He was like, "Hey, keep it simple. Give me a back or front, key, right? Previous or next, because you don't think about just the fact of how things render at times. But being able to have something like this again with different modules and resources broken down for veterans, breaking it down from both module ones that say going into the intro to claim strategy to the process, bonus material, and other things that we have in there. So all that stuff, all that information is linked in there to include even forms specifically, right? How do you actually, to Jerry's point, right? How are you filling out forms? What do those forms look like? Links to the forms itself, and then even a tutorial on how to fill out said form, right? So this obviously renders great both on mobile or computer or iPad. So we have that obviously CMP preparation, breaking down different things, access to the resources that we have to include our benefit state ebook and all this information. So a lot of great things that went in there to include even again welcome videos, how-to videos, how to do certain things. You'll have voiceovers at times with some of our advisors specifically. So some of the sections are going to be more complex. So even having a voiceover of someone telling exactly what's going on. So for those that are more inclined to kind of go self-paced, this is something that I think we're really proud of specifically. So taking some of this information and having our own vets give us feedback, I think is something that's amazing. So I'm really happy where we're at with that. And now, really, what we're doing is just kind of tweaking, just like the how we're packaging it and how it goes out and all that stuff. So all that will be available, and you'll be able to see it on our website over at veteransnetwork.club. Amy, on your side, you've been with us for a while as well, working on the claims side and work with many of veterans as well. So obviously, a lot of the feedback that we've gotten over time, this is a good companion tool too for folks that are working with us. But one, how are you since we last went live? What's shaking in team Amy on your side? Last time that we were live, you recruited pretty much about at least 10 people from the live to work for Team Amy. So that's a whole thing. But what's up on your side of the house, and then some of your impressions on some of the stuff that's been going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, I'm working on them. I'm working on a couple to come on board.
Hold on, let me
Um,
make sure I put you front and
so
center
it's a,
here so that people
Oh,
can.
there we
I
yes,
go.
want, I want people
thank
to know.
you.
So there's no,
Thank you.
there you go.
Should I put my mic to my mouth so I
No, no,
can
no,
can you guys
let's
see
not
it
get too crazy
nicely?
now.
So, what's been going on? Um, Nothing, just working, staying busy, lots of vets. Been busy with kids. They've had some activities in end of quarter, and I'm super proud of my girls. They both got straight A's this quarter, so that was a huge
Heyo.
accomplishment for them. So that was really cool. My youngest daughter just got back from this thing. It's called high trails, and so
Mm-hmm.
they go away. They take them on Monday and they bring them back on Thursday, and they have no cell phone, they have no internet. You can't talk to them. It was the craziest thing. I hated it. It's the longest I went without talking to her. Obviously, she's 11. My 13-year-old didn't get to go because of COVID, but it's a really cool experience. And I was actually thinking about like almost like a vet retreat, something like that, like the way they totally disconnect.
Mm-hmm.
They have no electronics. They hike, they talk, they're forced to socialize. They can't look at their phone. They can't, snap pictures of everything they do. Because I don't know about your guys' kids, but my kids snap these pictures of everything they do all day long. But you ask
Mm-hmm.
them for one picture and they're like, Mom, really? Um, but yeah, she just got back on
Wow.
Thursday. So that was super cool. And I was thinking, that would be, sometimes I feel like we need that. I had to do that, a couple weeks ago. I had to sort of disconnect for a couple days
Mm-hmm.
um, myself. And so I thought that was pretty cool. And something I was thinking about that, maybe vets could benefit from too is just that disconnecting piece and being present with who you're with um, versus just being present with your electronic devices that I think we're probably all guilty of, especially us that are working vets. But that's sort of what's my son's started a new job at Toyota and he loves it and still considering doing the real estate thing. But other than that, as far as the course, I think that it's great because there are some people that come to us that so what we offer is basically holding your hand, sort of, if you will, like the step by step from the time you come in, you know, um, every step of the way, helping you like, okay, now you've done your intent to file. Now it's time to do this. Now it's time to do that, and kind of helping you come up with a strategy and looking at your claims and seeing what claims you could have or you might do. And this is more for, I have had some vets that come and they just need, they know what they need, they know what they want, they're familiar with it, they just need a little bit, but they don't necessarily need a benefit advisor to help them. So this is a perfect situation for somebody that is maybe, a little bit familiar with the process, but it doesn't need the hand holding, I guess you will, which isn't a bad thing because you just don't know what you don't know. But for some people, I can definitely see some of my vets benefiting more so from the course versus the one-on-one benefit advisor. So I think it's going to be a great opportunity for some people that want to do it like self-paced.
Hmm.
And one thing that I think is really unique about the course is it sort of it's for all learners. So visual, here, like if you're a visual learner, if you like to listen, if you like to read, it really speaks to all three of those. And so I think that's what's really cool. And sometimes I need to hear it and then I need to read it. And so I like that part of it, that you can go back and forth. And of course, it's self paced and you can click to where you need to. And um, everything you need is right there or it's linked to where you need to go. So I think it's going to be very beneficial for a lot of people. So super proud of Veterans Network for pulling it together. I will say, I think Brian and DP got very little sleep over the last couple months doing all the things. Getting the course ready and the website. So kudos to them and all the team behind it, and Lisa and Mark and Chris and Amanda and everybody else that was involved with putting it together, because it was not an easy task and it was something that ideally could have taken a couple of months and they got it done like in a month. So and so yes, thank you, Jerry, for the feedback too, because that's helpful for us, so we know, because coming from a client, understanding what it is that you want to see, what you want to hear, what could be beneficial, what maybe we can add. So I think as we go, we'll continue to tweak it. But I'm excited for it. I'm excited for Veterans Network to offer this, and a lot of the other stuff that's coming up as well. Because sometimes people, like, you just don't need the coaching aspect, the benefit advisor aspects, but you want to join classes or you want to jump into different things. So that's something that we're starting to expand on too. So that's something to look forward to. And yeah, so that's pretty much all I got.
Yeah, no, and I think, and that's really the whole focus, right? It's basically meeting someone where they're at. So having different options shows that, hey, there's this thought and care put into creating something to help solve a problem. And the reality is there's many solutions, obviously, in the world. But when it's all said and done, that's the great thing about a market, right? Like anything else, you can choose Adidas, you can choose Nike, you can choose Reeboks, right? You have different things that are available, and having the collective experience of, again, on our side, with over 50 plus years of VA claims experience with all the advisors that we have, from all branches of service and all eras, right? Vietnam veterans to, recent veterans. That feedback helps. So now having a course that acts as two things, right? It acts as a toolkit for those that are working with us more individual and a premium side of the house. But for those that want to kind of, hey, try their hand at going at it the first go around, right? It's something to give you at least a way to understand and navigate the process. And obviously, you have the ability then to tier up or find other options. So the whole point is, whichever way someone needs support and help, we want to be able to create those opportunities and those avenues, and being able to bring somebody in who is an educator as far as the how the learning process works. Um, to Jerry's point, because it's not, hey, say this thing. Like, no, Jerry's an individual and he's bringing his, honest feedback because we want it to be able to make it better. But specifically to one thing he said, as far as the content and the layout of the course, it's because we brought in an educator. So don't get it twisted. It was literally we brought in someone who does this. They create courses. They happen to be related to someone very close to us who's hovering above me. So that's that. Let's go ahead and put that out there. It runs in the genes. But to have someone who does this for a living, who has her professional education and work in adult learning, right, modalities, that is what's happening, right? Because the information, when it's all said and done, you can say, well, it's online. You can Google it here. You can do that there. That's fine. You can also Google how to replace, your carburetor. You can also Google how to go ahead and replace your plumbing in your house. You can Google how to do everything. Doesn't mean you necessarily know how to do the thing. Information overload becomes something. So to have information packaged in a way that makes sense, that actually solves a problem, again, by someone now who takes our collective experience and, hey, how do we package this so that a person learning this learns this? They're coming in this as just an educator. And one of the things that, I actually think is a pretty cool thing was the educator that we brought in was a civilian. So it wasn't like there's a veteran writing this in the sense of, if it makes sense to you as a civilian walking off the street, now you're kind of asking the questions that we wouldn't think about. Because as veterans, you know how it is, right? We have acronyms and we assume people know things. And for many of our veterans, you've been out of service so long, you might as well be a civilian in the sense of understanding the process, because the VA side of the house has nothing to do with service. The VA is not at all anything like the Navy or the Air Force or the Army. It is a completely different beast. And not understanding the process and how all that works, for many people is self-defeating. So having someone come in who again understands adult education and being able to put and catalog the information in a way that makes sense and is succinct, right? That was the goal and what I'm very proud of. So when Jerry says something as far as, the course material he reviewed, was on a level from an education perspective that was head and shoulders above, it speaks to the presentation and it speaks to the background work that went into it, not just piecemealing stuff and making it look good just to say, hey, put something out like some other products, which again, that's just the way it is. So the care that went into this, it really was because we want to make sure that folks are able to learn. But then the great thing about this too is that it's a program, excuse me, a course that will grow in the sense that as things change, we have the ability to update things. We have the ability to make sure that, while you're pretty much going through this process, right, you're getting new things, you're getting resources and so forth. So having something like that, I think, is pretty cool. So I'm really happy for the outcome of that. So that information, you'll see it on our website, which again is pretty amazing just to see where, it's gone, how it's come along, and where we're at with that. So that to me is very impressive. One quick update I think is also pretty cool if you head on over to veteransnetwork.club, because it is our um, new website. Let's see here. Doo-doo-doo-doo. Okay. So if you take a look here, there will be a few little changes that the crew, I don't think, have seen, specifically on the backside there. So you'll see a little pictures of our veterans. So one of the things that we'll be updating over time is you might see other pictures that actually start popping into this Rolodex. So this is on our website over on the claim support side of the house. So when you go to the main site, you'll see this here. What's cool about this, again, you kind of see, our folks behind the scenes. You'll start seeing eventually some of our clients who've been around for a while pop up in there too. So this is something that it's cool and we'll keep updating because it's our club, it's our people and what we do together. But specifically to, again, the forms that we have, the different, things that we're providing, it is amazing. So just seeing all of this grow, I'm really proud of it, and the folks behind the scenes making it happen day in and day out. So that's something you'll see there on claim support and then our club shop and all the information there. But Brian, on your side, some thoughts while I'm on the website, because I think it's pretty cool. And again, these guys knocked it out the park. So
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And a shout out to my brother David Alkire. I saw him pop in, and David also did a review of the course and was one of the early reviewers and had nothing but glowing feedback. And
there he
David's
is.
there. It is
Semper Fidelis, 70 to 72, then 82
Marine.
to 95, 100% to 19. Have to say, of course, absolutely best you've seen as well. So again, having that feedback is really key to us because we want honest feedback to be able to do something. So, another fellow veteran giving us some feedback there. So since you mentioned it, I just literally saw his comment pop up. Back to you, Brian.
No, but so what's so cool about it? I mean, the theme behind the website and the way that the focus was simplification. So what's going to make it easy for everybody to find information that they need? And I think we've gone a long way in achieving that. Now, obviously, we're always looking for ways of improvement. There's never complete satisfaction, 100% satisfaction. But I mean, the about us. I mean, this is just an incredible page. I don't know. It's going to take me a long time to get over the fact that just by accident,
Yeah.
um, when we were going through and updating this the team page, by accident we discovered that everybody on the team is 100% PNT.
Hmm.
That blows my mind. Yes, that means we're the island or land of misfit toys, but it also means that we've been around the block, we've been through the trenches, um, had to fight our own fights, and we've taken those lessons learned and being able to turn around and translate that back into support for fellow vets like Jerry and even David and so many others that have joined us tonight and join us pretty regularly. So
Abby's in the building.
Abby, all right, I see Mark in there and Kelly. We got a lot of great people joining us tonight. So, but yeah, it's incredible. So you get a little flavor of us. I like it. The old little military
This one's for
flashback.
you right here. So you take that comment.
Oh, there we go.
You just hold it. Hold that little comment. Thanks right there. There
Okay,
you
there
go.
we go.
No, but I
No,
think it's cool. It's cool to that point. Like I said, it's putting all this together. It's pretty amazing. I really like to Brian's point, just getting a little more information on the folks that are doing this stuff day in day out. A little more background information on them when you kind of go obviously to our main page and you click on more about the team. You'll see the team. Some fun parts about this is going to evolve some more. So as you actually see, there'll be a learn more about them. So these are kind of like the bullet points, but then there'll be a sub page with information on each advisor, a little bit more about them, so you kind of get to know a little bit of kind of what they are, what they're doing, different things that are coming up, classes that we're teaching, and things like that. But again, when you look across the board, right, and of course, I always kind of skip there, but you see my service dog, who again, because Jerry's in the building, I have to make a point to emphasize that Legend is named after Navy SEAL Chris Kyle. So he reps the Navy, so Legend gives a point to the Navy as far as affiliation is concerned. But really finding out information of even like, where he trained, how that kind of came about for him, a little background on myself there, pointing into probably a wall going the wrong way there. And then seeing, both Army and Navy and Air Force and Marine Corps and even military spouses. You have Maria, whose husband is 100% PNT. So, being able to really highlight that. And the reason I'm saying these things is because even when you come down, our very own Lisa, which is great because now I can pull it up here on the website and I don't have to worry about, her hiding the comments, is one of our amazing, support staff on the back end, who's a disabled civilian, right? Who understands just the fact of living with disabilities, right? So you see her here with her service, her emotional support animal, Lincoln, and basically some background on her, things that she's done. So she is our consultant on the marketing side of the house. But again, having folks from all walks of life that are part of this thing that we are doing, I think it's amazing. So this is going to continue to grow. And I invite you all to check it out because every so often you'll see us pop up, and kind of come and show you all this because you may see some more faces pop up here. You may see some of your faces out here. So some of our folks, a little, little spoiler alert, we're collecting information because guess what? We have our club that's beyond just the inner core team, but we also have the extended team. So you'd be surprised who you may see here on this page. But really, really excited and proud of this work. And now that you start to find out more information about those type of things that are taking place, now we begin to put on other things, right? Like classes that are going to start coming online, things that we're going to start sharing with people specifically, towards, deeper dive sessions. So for example, next Tuesday, we're actually doing a deep dive on mental health. So, while we're at it, let's just actually just show that real quickly. So this is on Eventbrite. You'll be able to see it there. The link will go out for those that are on a mailing list. For the public, this will be there. It'll be a deep dive to the 31 mental health symptoms as far as the VA is concerned. So this is a course that'll be there. We'll get the link for you all and have it pinned as well, so you'll see that in the comments. But you could literally go into Eventbrite and tap in or search, for example, Veterans Network Champions Club online events, and it'll literally pull us up. So that's how cool that kind of works out, where you can do a quick search and kind of see the different things that are there. But more things like that we want to start putting online for folks that are popping in or need support in different ways. So having that, I think, is going to be great. We're doing a lot of work in different areas, specifically even on social media. So we have some folks tuning in today. Kelly, for example, from TikTok said, Brian, your comments and support on TikTok were amazing. Had her CMP today. Amy was able to support her as well. So literally having, that support in different ways, I think, is part of us growing and having these conversations. Mark says, yes, simple stop. Hunt for information, right? Because that's the problem too. When there's so much information, it becomes information overload. Like, what exactly works? How do I do this? How do I do that? What is vetted information, etc. Annette Copeland says, wow, that is awesome. It is indeed. Oh, wait a second. Don't call it a surprise, a comeback. But we have our very own brother, Dennis. Blair is in the comment section. Jerry, he is saying
Yay!
peanut butter pretzels is what his, um,
Dennis.
treat of the week. So a little inside information for you all. So Dennis has been with us for a while. And one of the things that's actually interesting is we talk about our vices, we talk about mental health, we talk about different things that we deal with. But to be able to really, share different things is amazing. So we had a real great session a few weeks ago, and we're going deep. We're talking mental health. We're talking just a lot of stuff. And Dennis goes, I got to share one of my vices, and he begins to share, the bane, his weakness at Costco with the chocolate chunk cookies and so forth, and then now the peanut butter pretzels that have taken him down. So there's different vices that we all have, but this is cool to be able just to share things like this, which I think is pretty cool. So we have Dennis hanging out with us, who also was surprised that we brought him into the pizza party. So you never know, you might have us pull you into random stuff because that's what a club kind of does. So, you never know. Somebody may be knocking on your door. It's VNCC sending weird stuff. Sometimes it's pizza. Kelly says, I like the background and the bio, and all of you guys really brought to us insurance. Yep. And that's the whole thing, right? It's little by little being able to do that. David says, agree. It allows you to know the people who are helping you better. And that's a big one for me, right? I don't like this whole concept of this anonymous, place where I just, I don't know who I'm dealing with, right? I'm gonna say this with a grain of salt, but I'm gonna say collectively we're kind of old school, right? We want to kick the tire, take a test drive, get to know who we're talking to. I get the age of technology, but I just want to know, what I'm saying, who I'm working with, who I'm talking to, and we're real people, right? You know what I'm saying? We went from a place where it's funny enough, Amy years ago was watching us doing this show. So about over 3 years ago, Amy was just someone in the comment section, and she went from the comment section to jumping on the team to now being here on the show. And then Jerry's been watching us forever, right? We had to make sure he sent us a TD214, and now he's on camera with us, right? And you look at stuff like, for example, what are his passions he likes to teach? Well, what's something that we can provide to our veterans, right? So it's not just us doing something. Tomorrow, Jerry may be teaching a class. You never know. Because, again, it's one of those things of, hey, can we create space to let others be able to serve and help, right? If that's something that, you feel called to and you want to be able to pay forward. So you never know, right? We got Jerry on camera. That's step number one. I can't tell him step number 2 and 3 yet, but it's coming. Shh, don't tell nobody. David says he agrees. Lisa says proud to serve with the crew for almost 3 years. So Lisa will be with us 3 years in January, which is crazy. Rachel just hit 3. We'll hit 4. Yeah. In the, next year as well with her. So it's just insane how time has flown by. Abby says thank you. And that's actually a good point.
So
Going back to Lisa real quick, the integrity piece. There's something to be said about in the veteran space about being able to serve with integrity, and I think that's a good point to kind of open up on there. For you, Brian, talk to me about what the integrity means to you, because again, we're veterans. We're doing this here, but it took you over 20 plus years to even get to work on your claim, right? Or get
Yeah.
help or even get to a place of asking for help. So talk a little bit about your journey, just kind of briefly, as far as like, you getting to a place and what really helped you decide to do something. Because I like the fact of what Lisa said there of integrity. Integrity means something. And sadly, in this day and age of technology and all these different things, it just becomes a lot of noise that sometimes makes you question some of that.
Yeah, I mean, so I separated in '93, in March of '93, from the Army, and it wasn't until 2019, so 26 years later, that because of a buddy pushing me, the buddy I joined the Army with had kept encouraging me over a period of months. And that's the only reason why I took those initial steps to start that process of going to the VA, getting registered there, starting to look at the benefits support, the disability claims and stuff like that. So, um, it's, well, for a lot of us, there's a lot of things that flow through your head, whether there's some feelings of shame about your service, whether there's just some other stigmas or other feelings of non-contentment, non-contentment, if that's the word, of just trying to disassociate yourself from even being labeled as a veteran, quite frankly. So steering away from anything veteran related for all those years, it just took encouragement and support that ultimately changed the trajectory of what I was, what I wound up doing. And it was the only reason why I'm here today, doing what I'm doing, is because I trust my brother, and and I trust my sister, and I trust the team that I'm working and walking step by step with. Those bonds that we form in the foxhole, so to speak, even if it's just digging the foxholes and filling sandbags and training, you're going through something, you're going through a crucible that no civilian will be able to register with, and forming those bonds. And that's something that you don't know that can still be there. Those bonds can still be there and still be created and supported. And so it if you feel like you're just being taken advantage of, if you feel like they're just out there trying to make a buck, and let me tell you, whenever I was searching for help, whenever I started this whole process, there's a large number of people out there offering their support, but they also want your kidney, and they want other things from you. Yeah, there you go. So it's like, all right. Uh, so it's like, what's your real interest? And going even to the free support. Well, is it really free? The VA is paying their wages, so no wonder I got the support I got from the free services. So that's the perspective I took away from it, and so finally landing where I did, and where I am today. There we go. Uh,
That's
it
Brian's
makes
kidneys,
me
by the way.
I love it. Hey, they got better moves than I do. So no, but that's all of those things go into play as to, you don't want to hold your nose when you're sitting there talking to somebody about something that's so personal, about something that's already you're so anxiety ridden, and there's a lot of fear going into a claims process, particularly when you are just starting out. Um, we've helped vets over the years who had everything. They had this very solid claim, and all they had to do is click that submit button, but fear kept holding them back. Fear kept holding them back. Um, so that's a real thing. And so for somebody to be brave enough to go through and submit their claim and follow through that whole process, that's no light task. So I honor everybody who takes that takes that step, and I honor those who are fighting to build up the courage and steam to do that for themselves and for their family. Because the reality is, these benefits don't just help the veteran personally; they help the family. Now there's all kinds of benefits that my wife is going to be able to take advantage of, like health insurance and other things, because of me finally taking those steps after 26 years. So yeah.
Hmm. No, and it's just, and a good point that I want to also even talk to this here. So some of the stuff that even Jerry shared, right, when we were asking some questions before the session, right, he shared that he had no idea about compensation for service connected disabilities. Besides being tough, strong, and not a complainer, when he began to plan for retirement, he went to the VA to see what benefits were there and available. But obviously, that doesn't go according to plan. But when the question then was raised as far as given his journey, right, and I'll let you kind of expand on it, Jerry, as well. But I really like this part that you kind of shared, which was most veterans are mistaken in thinking that they're okay and don't qualify for compensation, right? The law says that if something's wrong with them, you can go ahead and get that help, and you can go down this process. But you want veterans to know things you shared was it may look like a black hole when you start. It was very difficult for you to do, right? You can get others to assist you in the process, but to put together a full developed claim that has all the things you need to be successful, obviously, you want to make sure you do that. Not hesitating. You served, you were injured. The law provides for ways to get the compensation that you deserve. Don't hold back, but be patient. Be very patient. Jerry said he found it to be a long and rigorous process. Only in hindsight can I say it was worth it. And when you share that, I think that was very powerful, Jerry. So can you elaborate a little bit on that as far as just even the fact of, like you said, you were strong, right? You served, you did all these things, but then time, health, age, all that happens. And you come from an era where, like we talk about a lot of times, where you got two legs and two arms, you're fine. What are you talking about, right? Be a man, drink it up, suck it up, and drive on type of stuff. All the things that we talk about, whether or not you were a Korean War veteran, Vietnam veteran, or Gulf or what have you. But talk a little bit about that process as far as if you could tell yourself some feedback, way back when, or others listening, what would be some things you would say just to be able to just speak up, right, to your point, and take some of the advices that you shared? Oop, you're
You
good.
looking
I
to
hear you.
me?
Yep. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. It was just a whole unknown thing. I had no idea. It was, when you're on active duty, you just, like Brian said, you got the mission, you suck it up, you move on. Uh, and the fact that you took a bath in JP5 that day was just part of the drill. When you're unwrapping oil across from one ship to another, you did a lot of crazy things. You go through a typhoon in the North Pacific,
Mm,
served in the combat zone off of North Vietnam near Haiphong Harbor, up there where the bomb in Hanoi. This just a lot of things going on when you're in the military. That's kind of exciting, and it kind of the camaraderie kind of keeps you going. But then later on, you start to developing these problems, and you don't look back and see what the real source of it is. But what really convinced me to move forward in this process was when I started reading what the regulations and the law says. It says, I did that, so I deserve that. Really? You know,
mm,
really? Well, okay. So that's what I went on with, and that's what really finally convinced me was that the law is there. It's on our side. Congress has done a good deal for us. The VA is attempting to put together a great process. It's tough. The statistics that you showed one of the meetings recently,
mm-hmm,
they've got they're working millions of claims a year, and it's a big job.
mm-hmm.
Uh, and yeah, they're making a lot of mistakes, and they're making some errors, and they're uh, hiring a lot of contractors who don't have military experience and don't really understand what environment we lived in. But the law is the law, and go take advantage of it. It's all you have to do is ask.
So Jerry, let me ask you something.
Yeah.
And again, this might be specific to just the mindset, right? So you got to a place where you research the law and say, wait a second, this says I'm entitled to this, right? So, right, easy peasy, lemon squeezy, right? I go ahead and do a thing and ask for a thing. And then the
Mhm.
reality hits of like, wait a second, I did what I'm supposed to do, yet the system isn't getting it right. So, one, mentally, what was something, I guess, that was helpful to you to get to a place of saying, hey, I need to do this? Because for many veterans, obviously, there's a lot of the somebody else has it worse, somebody else needs this or whatever. And to come to a place of being vulnerable, right, that's the first step. So if you could share that part. And then the second question being, then you open yourself up to go do this, and then the system rejects you. And for many people, it's like, that's exactly why I was not going to ask for anything. I opened myself up, and now here comes the system saying that I'm a liar and what I went through is not real. And it becomes almost like a personal rejection versus an administrative or system, in inconsistency. So those 2 points of getting to a place of being able to get help, because obviously many, who served in your time frame as well may feel resistance towards things, and then getting through the rejection that the system inherently may have for many of us.
Well, the what really convinced me to go ahead and do this was uh, I was ill. I was suffering from a lot of conditions that eventually I lost my job and was medically retired. Uh, and Frankly, I needed some income, and I was trying to find a way to work and gain some income. And when I found out about this, I thought, well, this is a perfect thing. My family deserves this. You know, my wife and I we're in our 70s now, and we need to do this. But I kept thinking, well, it was so long ago, it was so far away. How in the world are they going to be able to do this? And when I put the first claim in, I guess I was just very fortunate. It took about 10 months for the VA to make their original decision, and I, uh, I disputed part of it and turned in a higher level review, and that was successful. And I came away from there with 70%. And then I put in another claim uh, for other conditions and things that it was being treated for at the VA, and I wasn't as successful. And I'm not sure why. I think it was a combination of things. It was a combination of the people who reviewed it, the the I probably could have done well to uh, get advice of a benefits advisor and get some buddy letters or something. I just think there's some more evidence that was there. And you're right. It really hurt me when they turned me down on all of the claims that I turned in the second go round. I turned in claims on 5 different conditions, and they denied every one of them.
Mm,
Well, I was, well, I was angry. It turned into depression, and I just didn't want to mess with it anymore.
mm-hmm.
It was just too uncomfortable. And then I kept thinking that this is really what I need to do, and I knew I got to do it once. I've got to find some help and find out what's going on, and you guys are bringing me along very nicely at this point.
And I thank you for that, Jerry, because I think that's a collective experience that many people can relate to, right?
Mhm.
Again, coming to a place of saying, okay, first of all, things are not well with me. I'm dealing with things that are still lingering from service, right? I thought they would go away, or I ignored them, or I just figured somebody had it worse, whatever the narrative we taught ourselves. But then over time, guess what? It's been now, what, 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years, and you're still dealing
Mhm.
with things. And those things have led to other things, and the inability of even the concept of, like you said, right, maybe it's been too long, how am I going to go back now and argue about this stuff, right? So a lot of ignorance, right, to the process, because we just don't know, right? When you got your DD 214, you kind of just went down your merry way, and whatever you left from was in the rearview mirror, and that's all she wrote, right? So
Right.
getting to a place of life happening sometimes, it gets us to a place of saying, hey, I got to look into this. But then the more powerful part of that rejection, right? Like you said, that depression that hits, that fact that I've made a point to open myself up, right? And again, we talked about some of the things you've done in service, but the fact of the matter is, you did your time, right? Nobody's asking for a handout. Nobody's trying to get over on the system.
Right.
It's
Right.
rightfully what is owed to me. One of our advisors, Vernon, also a Vietnam era veteran. One of the things that he said that stuck with me was this concept of, I signed a contract, right, for an agreement. And if anything would come out of that contract, I would be taken care of if something were to result from my service. And I think that one of the concepts that that I shared a few sessions ago was our collective, and for people watching this, if you look around, you literally have four veterans of four different backgrounds, four different eras, right? Two common services, obviously. We won't go there, Amy. But regardless of how we got here, the reality is that, you know, we're just human beings. We're people that, how old were you, Jerry, when you decided to enlist and join the service?
Oh, I was right out of high school. I was 17.
17. Brian, how old were you when you pretty much made the decision to enlist?
I was just a few days, 17 years old.
And Amy, how old were you?
19.
19. So think about it, just kids, right?
Yeah.
16th birthday, 17th birthday, boom, I enlisted. Same situation. I'm saying that because regardless of what branch we're in, this concept that we've been developing and talking about is we signed a contract with Uncle Sam, right? No matter what branch of service, and we'll joke and play around and do all that stuff about, go Army, beat Navy and all that. But before we were any of those things, we were just kids that saw an opportunity as to do something, to fulfill a dream, to follow in footsteps, or to get ourselves in a better station in life. Whatever our reason was to serve, we made a point to sign that contract with Uncle Sam. And inherently, one of the things that dawned on me in one of our meetings was if we come into conversation of saying we signed a contract with Uncle Sam, what is our relationship then to the service, to Uncle Sam? Well, inherently, that would make us nieces and nephews, yes? So if we're Uncle Sam's nieces and nephews, that makes us cousins because obviously we're, quarreling cousins. And that makes a lot of sense when you start to look at the branches of service and how we kind of fight against each other. But if anybody knows anything about cousins that quarrel, they'll fight internally. But trust me, when they get together, can't nobody talk about them. Only I can make fun of, but you outside can't. But I say that to say this. We signed a contract, and what Vernon said the whole point of, you know, you did not fulfill that contract. I came into contract to do something, and you did not hold your end of the bargain. I gave you the years of my life. I was ready to go. I deployed. I did what I was supposed to do. Jerry was present, did what he had to do, and so on and so forth. So my point is, if this is the collective experience that we've been through, we're just trying to get due what is due to us. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less, but breaking down stigmas, having an understanding of what exactly is even available. To Jerry's point, one of the things that was interesting is because I like to pull stats and pull stuff up. So if you've ever been in one of our sessions, I like to pull out of records and things to see what's going on. And one of the things that I thought was interesting, actually, I'll bring it up here. This is from the VA specifically. Let me go ahead and minimize this some. So one thing here that's pretty interesting is this is the number of service-connected disabilities for all compensation recipients. So this is literally breaking down how many folks file for certain things, right? So the total number of veterans that are rated right now is about 5 million.1 and change, right? Out of the 5 million or so that are rated, you have 31 million conditions rated. So on average, it's about 5.5 or so per veteran. So the actual number is 5.95 average ratings per veteran, right? When you look at it all together. So looking at this, the majority kind of makes sense, right? 37% of folks are filing for musculoskeletal, back, knees, things that such. Got it. The common rating is 10%. Auditory, tinnitus, things that such. That's about 13%. The common rating, 10%. You look at skin conditions, right? You look at neurological conditions, 10% and 0. Respiratory, about 0. Digestive, and this is straight from the VA. This is their benefit report for fiscal year. But when you look at mental health, 7% of all disabilities fall into the mental health side of the house. The things we don't want to talk about. We don't want to talk about mental health, how we're affected by the things that we're dealing with. The most common degree of disability for a veteran with mental health, a mental health rating, is 70%. just let that sink in for a second to factor in that most people are going to be looking at all the other body systems for things they're dealing with. But look at the fact that the percentage of those disabilities in comparison to what is the common degree of disability. And again, granted, everybody's different, but it's making a point to say that sometimes I don't think veterans are really understanding how things impact them or the things they're dealing with because we have these preconceived notions and stigmas. But the reality is that while there may be digestive issues or cardiovascular issues or respiratory issues, skin conditions, neurological conditions, auditory conditions, musculoskeletal, check, check, got it there. But the fact that when you look at how many veterans do not even understand that mental health varies in so many different ways, it's not just PTSD, there's anxiety, there's depression, there's so many different things, and that the rating can go from 0 to 100 depending on your level of impairment. Everybody's different. That's one of those things that makes you think, like, wait a second, we're all chasing tinnitus because it's the thing that we're told that we can get it and it's not that cumbersome to go. We're chasing certain things, but to not understand, what is available, what's the landscape, that's pretty huge. So that's some staggering numbers there when you look at, of all the ratings that are there for the 31 million or so, 7% of them fall into the mental health side of the house, and the average common rating there tends to be 70%, which means obviously, you don't know what you don't know. But the question now begs to be asked, right? What is a veteran dealing with? What are some things that potentially are, detrimental to what they're going through, what they're dealing with, etc., right? So then when the question becomes, okay, well, what's something, common that a veteran, let's say, would file? Here are the, most prevalent common things, right? The tinnitus, knees, hearing loss, PTSD, one mental health conditions of many, right? Cervical strain, scars, limitation of motions, etc. But this is kind of the tell of the tape. So when you start to look at these things, really factor into the fact that sometimes we don't know, because again, PTSD is one thing. There's many other ways to make an argument. So these are some things here, just to at least begin to start framing the argument. So these are some stats that I think it's just good to be able to bring up, because it starts to really tell, as far as where folks are at, specifically, for things. So again, looking at this here, let's look at these are the average, let's see, compensation by veterans there. So you kind of see what it breaks it down. So, by different areas of service, as well as, the average there. So you see 5.95. So Brian, over to you real quick. What are some of your thoughts? I know we talked about this the other day a little bit, but when you start to look at the data, it is pretty interesting to kind of be like, oh, wait a second, I did not know that thing. So some of your thoughts as it relates to some of this.
Well, first of all, kudos to you to going to the library and digging this information up, because this is just not something that's out there easy to locate. Quite frankly, I, everything that's published, we get these regular digest emails from the VA and all this. This is, quite frankly, this week was the first time I saw this information. It's, it really kind of enforces a lot of what we think about what is the best way to approach a strategy on the claims, and but to see the fact that all of these average ratings are as low as they are, except for the mental health, um, it just reinforces the fact that our principal claims of things that that pain in my neck might be a real pain in my neck, but at the end of the day, is that the most important thing to pursue first? And just seeing how this is all kind of broken down, um, it's pretty shocking, and also seeing the division of where everybody sits on this scale, not between 10 and 100%. You've got the majority of people setting, and you've got so many setting even at just 10%.
Right. Well,
Um,
and because you were saying that, there you go. So here's a breakdown
well,
of, where folks kind of fall on the landscape. So when you look at this, the way you read this, right, to the left, you see combined degree of rating, so from 0 to 100, and then you see the breakdown between males and females, totals, and then total percentage there. So when you look at this, to the very far right, 17% of all veterans are rated at 10%. And then if you go down, then the biggest number then is 100. So 18% of all the 5 million veterans, right, who are rated are at 100%. Then 17% are at 10%. And then from there it drops. The only closer thing from there, then you go into, let's say, how many folks are at 27%, how many folks are at 37%. So you see a big disparity of folks that just get the very first thing and then just kind of stop because you get
Yeah.
the tinnitus and off you go, or the ankle condition or what have you, and that's all there. Or those that make that make the choice to keep pushing. But this kind of really presents a picture where not everyone's rated 100%. And that's something that's huge to be able to talk about, because even when we're talking about, let's say, claims, there's this misconception that all of a sudden every veteran is rated. And that's just not true. That's not the facts. There are actually inconsistencies even in that fact because it doesn't actually pan out that way. Right. So even being able to just break down some of these myths, to Jerry's point that we talked about, this is literally from
Mm.
the strategic plan of the VA. And I bring it up because it's not just us here talking or spouting information. Pull it up. This is the strategic plan of the VA for 22 to 28. And they're estimating that there's about, as of Q4 2020, 19.5 million veterans. And out of those 19.5 million veterans, you'll see on number 10 there, veterans that are receiving any type of compensation at 5.14. So to the numbers we just broke down earlier, here's the macro. 5.14. Out of those, who's 100%, 900,000. And staggeringly enough, people who are in TDIU, where your disabilities may not add up to 100, but they make you unemployable if you meet the criteria, 300,000. So, you know what I mean? So the numbers really begin to tell a story that folks are just not aware of, because it's like, you know what, Jerry, everybody's 100, I'm not going to do it, or somebody else needs it, or whatever the case may be. Wait a second, 19 million veterans, only 5 million are rated. Not saying everyone is rated, not saying everybody goes to 100, not saying everybody has a disability. But what I am saying is that sometimes things may start small. You may just have tinnitus. Because think about it, right? Jerry got out of service. You may have had a few issues when you got out there, but over time things may get worse. It's a whole lot more difficult to make an argument down the road if folks don't even know to say, you know what, it might be minor, but this can develop or get worse down the road. So you never know. It doesn't hurt to at least be seen, to ask the question, because ignorance, right, to this creates a whole lot of ignorance and people not being rated. So when people don't know, guess what? How does this help you? So this is the reason of having this conversation, of breaking down this information, because you know what? It may not be you, but it may be somebody you know. Because like Brian said, it was a friend that said, you need to go take care of this. Right? It's always someone that says something. So maybe if Jerry said something that makes sense to you, to say, you know what, I need to look into this. However you choose to do that. Right? This is not a, I'm telling you 5 things and all of a sudden sign up or talk to us or buy our course. No. What we're saying is do due diligence, do your homework, begin to explore. Because if you truly are trying to help someone do something, here's the reality. These are the facts. These are the stats from the source itself. So there's a lack of communication, because here's the fun part, or the irony of all this. If a veteran doesn't know about any of this and they're not enrolled in the VA healthcare system or get any communication from the VA, they're not going to get updates from the VA on what's happening in the VA,
Yep.
because you're not in the system. The VA is not looking actively to where you're at as a veteran. Where do you live? So unless you're in the system to get comms or know, you won't know. So this may be the first time you're hearing this information. If it is, good. Start looking into this. Start asking questions. Because again, there are people out there, to Jerry's point, who may be medically in a situation or unable to continue to do what they're trying to do because of what they're dealing with. And you're literally killing yourself needlessly, not knowing that there are options or alternatives out there, both for care and compensation based off of your service. Again, not everyone falls in that category, but if at least now the question is there, begin to look, begin to ask questions, begin to do your research. To Jerry's point, you do due diligence, you start to look at stuff, right? The reason I like to go into this stuff, to Jerry's point, command staff college, war college, that's what you do. We go into these things, right? We like to look at strategy, we like to look at stuff. What is the macro perspective of something, right? One point that I didn't say it, but I will say it because it has to be said. It's one staggering figure of this section of these numbers that bothers me is there's 19 million veterans, but number 4 has a stat that you can decipher for yourself. but the projected number of veterans that will be alive in 2028, there's estimating to be 16 million. That means that they're estimating about 3.5 million veterans will not be here in 2028. For some, that might confirm the narrative of the VA trying to wait me out till I kick the bucket. They're not waiting you out, but you're going to kick the bucket. Whether it happens before 2028 or after, that's a whole different conversation. But the fact is, they're factoring in how many veterans will be around. So 3.5 million veterans will not be around. That's a key number there to start looking at, wait a second, what's going on here, right? Are people even understanding what they're entitled to? So, for many veterans who may be out there, sadly, some folks that are with us may not be here in 2028. Don't let that time come and you leave your family in a situation that they could have been at least able to have benefits, had you had your things in order. Putting it off till tomorrow, putting it off till later, putting it off till later. Let's not do that. So no, the system is not necessarily geared against someone. The system is just the system. We have to make the point to begin to mobilize and have these conversations to get folks to understand what is available, what is out there. So that's why we're here on a Friday night. Yeah, there's many options out there. There's many other organizations and all that stuff, but where are they? They're not here right now. We're here right now doing this. And I'm only saying that because it matters. Putting this information out matters. Having these conversations matters. And we're all doing it in our respective ways, whether it's here or on TikTok or on YouTube or on any social media platform. However we can find someone to tell them something, it might just make a difference. So I believe that we can do good business by taking care of people, and that's what it comes down to. Because going to the comment section, one of the things that kind of popped up a few times, it really goes back to the point that was said about integrity, of serving, of helping, of supporting. So Kelly made a point to mention this here specifically to Amy, which was the Amy Fan Club seems to be in the house tonight. And when you start to see our advisors online and doing things like this, you see some of our vets show up and they're supportive. But really, when you start to see things, right, like Amy is awesome and she cares, it's a fact, right? It's not a paid testimonial, because the whole concept of our vision here is, if we get the right veterans in the right place to serve and help other veterans, then get the right people to do the right things, right? So Amy is in a position to help and serve because Amy is someone who has the ability to help and serve. So when she says that, it's a vindication that we have the right people in place, right? When Anthony says something like, Amy changed my life because I didn't trust anyone until I met her, I was about to give up, and then the call came. And there's something to be said for having a conversation and building trust. Again, we joke about this and we talk about it, but think about it. Jerry's been on supporting and following and commenting and viewing us for a long time, and we're still
Yes.
here. So there's something to be said that, hey, if it was just a flim flam, switcheroo type of situation or whatever, you wouldn't stick around. So the fact that people are sticking around all these years after we're doing something, it speaks to building something that actually is rooted in something real. It's not a fast food thing. It's a slow process, because it's a process of building real relationships. So when someone like Anthony says that someone changed my life, it's not somebody else can do this. No, you're missing the point, people. Google didn't save Anthony's life. A VSO did not change Anthony's life. And I'm not saying it to discredit someone. What I'm saying is that we're tired of being numbers. We're tired of just going through the system as someone just to get passed through. And if you can have the ability to have someone be there and help and be real, that is different. That is the difference. Yes, we can solve a problem, but beyond all that, let's get down to the actual base of being true. Because if Anthony trusts Amy, he's able to be real with Amy, to open up to Amy, and get to a place of finding out what's really going on with Anthony. Because guess what? Maybe I, as a veteran, am out there dealing with traumas and things I've never talked about out loud. And I'm not going to tell Amy or Jerry or Brian the fact that maybe I'm a victim of military sexual assault as a man, or I've been through things, or I've been exposed to things, or I deal with things that I'm not proud of. You just don't furnish that information. So when you have veterans that trust, that feel comfortable and safe, you begin to have conversations to be real, to identify what's going on, because sometimes you're trying to fight a system. It's like you're never going to be rated properly because you're not really getting down to the truth of what you're dealing with. You're masking, you're hiding things, and you think you can just kind of, BS this a little bit, and it's not going to work. So testimonies like that go a long way. We got Abraham in the house as well, who is saying what's up. One of our vets as well.
Right.
What's up,
Who are
Abraham?
supporting. So I
You
want
know
to
something I wanted
hit
to,
it.
oh, sorry.
No, you're right.
I wanted to touch on is listening to what, like reading the comments and listening to what everybody's saying. So, people are coming from all different areas tonight, from TikTok, from LinkedIn, from Facebook, from Instagram, um, everywhere, right? Some of them are clients, some of them are former clients, some of them are current clients, and some just happen to come across us on social media and have joined us. And so, what I'd like to say to a couple people that have are on, like Lisa or even Anthony, I adore him and his wife, his family. They were just amazing to work with. All my vets, and Dennis and Annette and Abby and all of you guys. Um, it's it it it's so much more than just getting your rating. And like, it brings a smile to our face to see you come and show up and to be here to support us, and and if we can support you guys too. But it comes to a place where you feel so alone, and you feel like nobody cares or nobody's going to listen, or I talked to somebody today that expressed that they went missing for 30 days. They just disappeared for 30 days. And this is so much more than just, it's what we say, like, your guys' community too. Like, that's why we want you to be a part of this club, if you will, because it brings that camaraderie, that those good times that you had in the military. Sometimes we're focused on the bad times because we're broken or we're damaged, or we're trying to repair ourselves from whatever happened, kind of on that path from victim to survivor, or whatever the case may be, right? But the one good thing about the military is the camaraderie, and I think that that's something that goes, in every single branch. Like, once you have that bond, regardless of Air Force being the best, once you have that bond, you can get that with anybody. So, like, I can bond with Jerry, I can bond with Brian, I can bond with DP or whatever. No matter what branch it is, you just feel that camaraderie and that closeness, that is something that is unmatched, and you can't really find that anywhere. And so, if for any other reason, for like Heather and Kelly, I can kind of see that they're going back on the chat. Like, you guys are talking and you guys are, supporting each other. And that's what this is really about, is all of us being there for each other and being there to support one another. And so it becomes so much bigger than any of us here. Or it becomes so much bigger than even Veterans Network itself. It becomes, reintegrating ourselves with people like us, to feel that camaraderie and feel like I I can relate. I can understand. I hear what you're saying. I get, and sometimes it's those words that you don't even have to say. You don't even have to speak. And just being in the presence, you're feeling, somewhat, comfortable and willing to tell your truth and willing to tell your story. Back to what Anthony said, is it's just about, allowing someone to be heard. And I think that that's what this is about. So I appreciate everybody's support in the chats and trying to, support one another, and reach out to us and support each other. But reach out to us if you need support as well. But just happy to see everybody here, and yeah, just wanted to throw that in there, DP. That the whole camaraderie and sort of like feeling like you're amongst people that get you, because sometimes you're married to people, or you're with people that they don't understand what you're going through because they weren't with you when you were in the military, or they don't know anything about the military, or you know um I was kind of joking this week with somebody about you know how many vets, when I ask them what's the secret to staying married, and I always say that I want to write like some little book about it, but I was explaining that you'd be surprised at how many veterans don't even live with their spouse or don't even sleep in the same room as their spouse. And it's become normalized, like, yeah, that's, if you met somebody that wasn't in the military or didn't have that military, they'd be like, what what kind of what is that? But somebody that's been in the military is like, oh yeah, I get it, I get it, I get it. Sorry, I'm putting
Mm-mm.
socks on my feet. My feet are
No.
freezing. um but yeah, so I just wanted to put that out there, that sometimes just being in the presence of one another, and just feeling like, hey, they get it, hey, they understand, or listening to the Wednesday night sessions and feeling like so many people comment, like, I feel like my wife called you before this meeting. I feel like somebody told you, my story before I called you. Or did somebody tell you everything that I've already talked about? Because you just feel like, you know, everybody else. You're able to understand and kind of speak the language that we're all speaking as veterans. And the piece to the numbers that you were showing, DP, what amazes me is so many people say, I never thought about it that way, or I never realized that I could claim that. Or, like, especially when you're talking about secondaries, like tinnitus. Tinnitus drives people absolutely crazy. And people don't realize that you can do a mental health claim secondary to tinnitus. And then you start talking about the symptoms, and they say, I had no idea. I do all of those things. I had no idea that that's something I could claim. And so I think it's just, getting that narrative out there that you don't know what you don't know. So ask the question, make, and just see what's out there, see what you can claim. There's secondary conditions, or I didn't think I could claim my military sexual trauma because I never reported it. That's not true. You can still claim it. I didn't think I could do PTSD because I was in during Vietnam and there was no records, or PTSD wasn't even a thing. That's not true. You can still claim it. And so you just don't know what you don't know. So I think it's all about awareness and spreading the word and inviting a friend, to come to our sessions or to these Friday Night Lives, and just ask the question, and understand, what benefits are out there for you.
Hmm. So so here's a actual question for you then, Amy. All right. So obviously, we can break down stuff, and I think again, the trust aspect is a huge one, right? To be able to trust, to be able to be
Hmm.
open to learning, that's the first part, and competence is another part. But for you, right? You're open and you share and you care. But what does it mean to you to work with a veteran? In the sense that, what is it for you that is fulfilling about serving veterans? Because the one part I always make a point to really focus with folks that we talk to on orientations and open houses is that we're amazing and great and unique because we are veterans helping veterans. To Brian's point, yes, we're 100% PNT, not because it looks good. I have a service dog. We have issues. We have things that we deal with. We have our ups and downs. We are trying to, despite our setbacks and impairments, serve and help
Hmm.
others in the best way that we can collectively. So, regardless of the fact of all the things you've been through, your own traumas, your own setbacks, your own disabilities, you could shut it down. You got what you got. You're rated. You're good. You can go away into the sunset and not have to put yourself out there to help someone, right? Because we're hurt people helping hurt people, right? But for you,
Hmm.
what does that mean to help a veteran, right? Like the answers, the minds, that's all fine. But what is it for you that's like, I want to wake up tomorrow and get on the phone again? Even though I'm doing something or I wasn't planning to do this, I'm going to take that one call, or I'm going to help that one vet, or I'm going to have that conversation, or it's Friday night. I could be doing other stuff. I have a migraine. I'm tired. I could be sleeping, but someone may need this. Because many a times people don't know this. I'll have moments where I'm like, I don't want to do this. I am not in the mood for it at all. And it's just like, well, we're still going DP. And I'm just like, shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's hard to fight where it's like, if it was up to me, trust me, it'd be a whole lot of like, yeah, I'm not feeling it, not there, not, all these things. And Brian's like, I'm ready. And Amy's just like, we got to go. And I'm like, fuck. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to do a thing, right? But we push because sometimes maybe Amy's a little bit down and we pull her and vice versa. But for
Hmm.
you, what does it mean to help a veteran who is lost and doesn't understand what they don't understand?
I think a big part of it to me is sort of like, as weird as it sounds, it's sort of my therapy. It's sort of like, what keeps me going and keeps me motivated because I've been there. I've been that person that didn't know if anybody was going to believe me, or thought somebody wasn't going to listen, or thought somebody wouldn't just hear me out. And sometimes, when you can feel that anxiousness, sometimes even through the phone, they just want to talk and they just want to be heard, or they just want somebody to say that's normal, or that's okay, or you're going to be okay, or just that encouragement of you know who you are today doesn't mean that's who you have to be tomorrow, or
Mm-hmm.
who you were in 2005 doesn't mean that's who you have to be today. And that, I love the word kintsugi. So
Mm-hmm.
I actually hashtag team name Team Kintsugi. And it's the Japanese art of putting something broken back together with gold and making it stronger. And so I try to think about rebuilding myself, and and if I can do it, then anybody else can do it, sort of thing, and just give that. I don't know. It's sort of a therapy for me, or just trying to help somebody. Like, hey, it's hard, but you're gonna be okay. Or hey, it's hard, but tell your truth. Like, it's encouraging. And then I think it's one of those things like it feels good to feel like you were able to just help somebody, because I'm not a teacher. I can't teach my kids how to do math. Like, I'm not a doctor. I can't stitch someone back together. I can't. So there's different things. I'm not an attorney. I can't help somebody win a case. Um, I'm not techie, so I can't help somebody fix a computer problem. But I feel like my giving back, or my ability to maybe be a part of something bigger than myself, is to join those that are sort of going through what I've gone through and arguably sometimes still struggle with, and then just sort of sit with them through their journey. And it doesn't, it could be anything. It could be, being depressed and not wanting to get out of bed, because what, like, we always talk about symptoms. It doesn't matter what the diagnosis is. We're talking about symptoms. And so I can speak to my military sexual trauma symptoms, just like, Brian can speak to his symptoms of somatic symptom disorder because of his back pain. He doesn't want to get out of bed because his back hurts so bad, or his back may, it causes depression and anxiety, just like my PTSD causes depression and anxiety. So it's really about being able to articulate your symptoms. So it doesn't matter what the diagnosis is, or it doesn't matter what the vet is dealing with. It's being able to understand their symptoms and them understand that we share the same symptoms, so we can relate. Even though we didn't fight together, we didn't go to combat together, we didn't serve in the same branch, our stressors aren't the same, we can relate. And that's what I always feel is very important to get to the veteran, is that, your tinnitus symptoms, you can speak to all of those symptoms just like I can speak to my symptoms. And so they can call it peanut butter and jelly, it doesn't really matter. But what are the symptoms? And when you start talking about the symptoms, you, Jerry, Brian, DP, all of the veterans on here, we can all speak to the same symptoms. We can speak to the anxiety, the depression, the hypervigilance, the anxiousness, the panic attacks, the not wanting to get out of bed, the not caring how you look, the isolating yourself from families, the inability to maintain effective relationships. You're trying so hard to be in a relationship and you can't figure it out, and you're trying so hard, but you can't figure it out, and then somebody's like, that's me, I get
Mm-hmm.
that, I've been trying for so long, and I can't get there. And so I think, really it's just helping people, like somebody helped me. And so it changed my life. And I know how that felt. And then I think what was really motivating to me too is when I was watching the Friday Night Lives back way back when, and I read the comments like they are now, and I was like, wow, that's something, like these people are changing these people's lives forever. These people are changing these families' lives forever, these kids' lives forever. I wanted to be a part of something that was bigger than me, and that's what I have to offer. And so that's my motivation that keeps me going. And sometimes it's the weirdest thing. And I know DP and Brian, we've talked about this because we talk about, we're on the, we're very supportive of each other on the outside too when we're going through our trials and tribulations. But, I've spoken to like, sometimes this is what got me out of bed. Hey, I turned my phone off for 4 days a couple weeks ago. Like I didn't want to talk to anybody. And then there's somebody that comes along, like say Kelly, and it's like, hey, I'll talk to her,
Hmm.
and it's like, oh, that's what got me kind of up. And okay, like I'm back in the fight, and sometimes that's what it's all about is for me. I feel
Hmm.
like, that's sort of my therapy, if you will.
How does it feel when a veteran calls you and tells you, right? So you get to the point of going through this process, they're lost, they're discouraged, they don't think they have an argument to make, and you are able to build that rapport and work with them. But how does it feel when a veteran calls you and says, I just got my rating back? We won. I did it. You know what I'm saying? How does that feel for you to actually see it come true as far as the not just the winning aspect of a number per se, but that sensation that many veterans don't experience of a win, right? Like we've been underdogs so long and been neglected so long and been through denial so long that you just forget what it's like to just, to win one, right? How does that feel for you when you hear someone on the other
Well,
line uh, tell you that what they thought was impossible actually happened?
I'm Air Force, so all we do is win.
Oh Lord, there we go.
No, so I have to lighten the mood a little bit here. So let me tell you, Mr. D's is one that will stick out for me forever. So there's some like when you first get the first ones that you win, you think like this is the best feeling in the world. You know, you think like they're so happy and they're so thankful, and they just like he said, it's life changing, and so when you get that call, it's like a relief a little bit, like you deserve that.
Hmm.
You finally got what you deserved, and happy to share in that moment with them, that you finally got what you deserved. And
Mm.
the unfortunate part is a lot of people when they first come to us, sometimes they don't think they deserve it. Sometimes they think, there's somebody else that deserves it more. And I hear that all the time.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, even to back with my dad, he when he would walk into the VA clinic and he would see somebody that maybe was dealing with a amputee, like not having a leg and or not having an arm, and feel like, gosh, they deserve it more than me, and he would want to walk out and leave. And that's so subjective, because just because those disabilities are visible, don't make them any worse
Hmm.
than the disabilities that are not visible. It doesn't mean that you're not going through the mental stuff, the pain, the suffering, the not being able to hold a job, the not being able to hold everything. You might be going through the same thing, and so like not all disabilities are visible. And so I think like when people come, and especially ones that, they think that, well, maybe I don't deserve this. It's like you do deserve it. What makes
Hmm.
you any more deserving, or me any more deserving than you? And so like seeing them from the start to the finish, and just their whole change, their whole attitude, their whole understanding. But also, you're giving them knowledge that they can take away for the rest of their lives. Like there's one gal that came on, and I know we've talked about her before, but she came on already 90%, already had her CMP. She came and she was like, nope, I want to sign up with you guys. I want to work with you guys. And, I kind of told her, hey, you're almost there. Why don't you go through your CMP and then come back? And she said, no. Well, after it was all said and done, she was like, this is invaluable. She got $200,000 of student loan um, wiped off because she was 100%. She got her 100%. She was able to get medical that she didn't have. She was able to get dental that she hadn't had for 5 years. And so, like, just seeing how it's life changing for so many people on so many different ways. Like, hey, there's no way I could afford to put my kids through school with what I've gone through. Like, I don't have that kind of money to be like, here's $40,000. But,
Mm-hmm.
hey, now you might have the GI Chapter 35, and they're like, oh, well, thank you. Or, hey, I can get a home loan. Or, hey, now I don't have to pay property taxes, because of whatever. And so it's all about education and being able to like educate them and see how it changes their lives, like literally changes their lives. And then I think anybody appreciates somebody feeling like you did something for somebody. And so for me, that's everything in the world. And that makes me want to go talk to that many more vets.
Mm-hmm.
Let's have that many more Anthony's, or let's have that many more, whatever the case may be. And so it's a very fulfilling and encouraging process. And then of course, like, just seeing in the chat, like, Heather and Kelly, I'm not keeping up with all of it, but um be able to encourage each other. And I think that, like, what we talk about, building community, content, and compassion, and I think that that really speaks to just veterans in general, but especially veterans network, and having that, that community, that compassion, and then giving them that content to be able to go to CMP and say, hey, if I would have never came to that Wednesday night class, there's no way I would have made it through that CMP.
Mm-hmm. No, 100%. In our Facebook
Yeah.
group, we got Jose Alanis in the building, saying it's good to see us
Oh,
all. I saw he was
hey.
traveling, so it's good to see him as well in the building from Seguin Coffee. So, but I think, yeah, that's the powerful piece, right? Which is, what does that mean to someone, right? To be able to help someone solve a problem, to make the give someone the ability to regain, right, a sense of independence that for many folks, just may have not been there. Like, I've just given up to a good degree. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so, having a conversation, beginning this talk again, to your point, the fact that we're doing this means that look at all the people who are conversating in the chat. If this is not happening,
Mm-hmm.
those conversations don't happen. If we don't put the content out there, people don't make the connections they make. So that's what sometimes I think people don't realize, where there's a lot of different things at play, which is, Kelly can help Heather and Heather can help Kelly and so can help so and so, because there's a platform or a space being created to have that conversation. Because if not, when would you have those talks? How would you know these things,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's the part no one sees of, it's almost like you have to open up space for things to happen, for people to
Mm-hmm.
begin to have this conversation, to know about these things, to understand what is available, right? And again, coming to a place where, like you said, right, there are a lot of options out there, but for many folks, they've done all the stuff. You've Googled something, you did what your friend told you to
Mm-hmm.
do, and guess what? You got denied. And it was not a system error, it was operator error, because you did not talk about what you were dealing with. So when it's all said and done, yeah, you got your records, you got your stuff, you submitted it, but can you talk about what is happening? What are you dealing with? And for veterans, we know how to camouflage. We put things away. We don't talk. We
Mm-hmm.
don't share. You don't talk about vulnerability. You don't talk about weakness because you don't show weakness, right? So how do you express the fact that, yeah, we were soldiers once and sailors once and marines once and all the things that we did, but we're not those things. We cannot do the things we used to do And now a life lived of service, doing things, exposes us to things that for many of us has limited our ability outside of service to do things. Failed relationships, failed
Yeah.
marriages, right? Strained work relationships, failed work relationships, failed work business endeavors. You can't work for someone and people won't work for you. So the point is, like, when does this conversation get broken down that as a man, we deal with things? That it's
Yeah.
okay to be able to say we're dealing with issues that we don't know how to express. A lot of our veterans, as much as we've been through, you got to think about it. We have degrees collectively, we've done things, and that's all fine. But we don't have the language to ask for help. So that makes us literally the equivalent of a baby with no words. And when you don't have the words to express what you're dealing with, what do you start to do? You lash out because you just don't have the words. So then you use your fists, and then you use the bottle, and then you use the things to let out this energy that you don't have the ability to articulate. And the reality is that for some men and some women, the reality is simple. You're just hurting. You're jaded. You're scared. You don't trust. The system's
Mm-hmm.
against you. Like we said earlier, they've denied you. They called me a liar. It took me 20 years to say that I was assaulted. That maybe I was a cook and I wasn't a high-speed ranger, but I was on a convoy from point A to point B and things happened and I was in complete and utter fear for my life and I was in a predicament that I truly had no reference of how to do something. But I can't
Yep.
speak up to say that because when I talk to Jerry, who maybe has done things that I haven't done, it's just like, well, why am I going to cry? I was just a cook. It doesn't matter what your job was or what your service was or what your rank was because here's the reality. If you have literally a general officer and an E1 and an E5 and an O4 and an O7 all in a vehicle, an IED or a bullet or danger does not respect rank whatsoever. So when you think about it, why do we vilify being able to be truth? Because think about it. Some veterans, and this is one that people, please listen to this. This is narrative that I didn't do 20 years, so I can't file for a claim. Who told you that? Or I didn't experience things that didn't make sense. Who told you that? You don't even know what it takes to
Yeah.
file a claim. So before we do all that, let's get to a place of even understanding what's available because you have veterans that are sucking up pain and dealing with things needlessly because they just don't know how to ask for help. They don't know how to say that I'm dealing with something. And then it becomes a peacocking thing of, well, I don't want to say that I actually experienced this or I have these issues, but look at your life. Look at the past 5, 10, 15, 20 years. For some Vietnam veterans right now, you cannot unsee or unhear or unremember the things that you have seen or done.
Mm-hmm.
There are veterans that had to do things that I don't care how big and bad you were, that morally conflicted with you, and now you are
Mm-hmm.
living with this situation. Here's something that I've seen a lot. Amy's seen this, Brian's seen this, but this is something we've seen a lot. Veterans specifically who have dealt with military sexual trauma, who've been victims, both men and women, have a ridiculously high preponderance of being labeled personality disorder or having some type of bipolarism. And now this is just the school of DP doing this for a long time. I would offer to you this. A veteran as a man, right? I was under the care of leadership who abused that and events took place where I, let's say, was sexually assaulted. For me to live a life past that point, I got to take that reality and put it away. Because as a man, I'm not going to say that I was in a vulnerability in a place where that took place. So now I've moved on. But what am I doing? I am internally, quite frankly, dividing myself into two different people because you will never see the DP who was abused again. So now I
Mm-hmm.
have to reinvent myself as somebody different. Someone who now has to go to the gym, who has to become stronger, who has to take martial arts every single day because no one will ever abuse me again. Because when I was in service as an 18 or 19 or 20-year-old kid and I was only 170 pounds or 50 pounds or 140 wet, guess what? I was weak and they took advantage of me and something happened. So I've now lived a life of building a defense mechanism, which really means I've built a whole different person. So when I'm having relationships now with someone, I'm not talking about what I am dealing with. I'm not talking about the hurt child inside. All you see is the Hulk. You don't see the Bruce
Right.
Banner. You don't see the hurt person. So if you think about it, I am creating two different personalities. And
Mhm.
after a period of time putting that away, eventually will come out. That's why my relationships have failed because I can't trust someone. I can't let them in because if they see the Bruce, they may hurt Bruce, but they won't hurt the Hulk. So
Hmm.
when I go
Yep.
see a provider, it kind of makes sense that DP might have a personality disorder or might be kind of bipolar. Well, how the fuck do you think I survived? I had to literally
Mhm.
reinvent myself and kill the person that was abused so it never happens
Yeah.
again. Whether you're a man
Hmm.
or a woman, that is a reality for so many veterans. It is the only way to move on because you never addressed it. So when you don't address something, what do? Tourniquet. You put a tourniquet on it. You literally package it up, you put it away, and guess what? You never see weakness. I never show vulnerability. And think about it. How can I have a relationship with someone as a woman when I don't trust you? I love you, but I am emotionally unavailable to you. All these failed relationships of, you know what, Amy, I tried, but DP just, he won't let me in. I don't know who he
Yeah.
is. It's always a lie after a lie after a lie. It's how I have survived. And I will not let you in there. I am sorry. I know you want to care for me. I know you want to help me. I know you want to be there. But here's the reality I don't trust you. I don't
Hmm.
want you to be here. But you can't tell that to your wife or your husband. So what
Yeah.
do? You lie. And those lies over time erode the relationship and another divorce and another this. And we
Well, and to
survive.
that point, DP, that it's so real. I mean, God, just like I mean, talking to military sexual trauma survivors, victims, people that are going through it. It's so true, like what you said, and the whole thing is like you can have someone that is ready to love you and do all the things for you and be, you know, the your Superman or whatever, and they they don't understand. Like I'm not that person that hurt you, but they don't understand I'm still that hurt person. You can't take that hurt person out, or you're going to get somebody that you might not like too. That going back to the two different people, right? And and then it's so hard because that's where failed relationships come in. Like there's nothing wrong with this relationship, but you're trying so hard to sort of, and that's where it comes to being uncomfortably vulnerable. And I was having a conversation with somebody today about almost verbatim what you said, like you were a fly on the wall. And we were talking about how being uncomfortably vulnerable, and especially for men. And it was a male that had been through military sexual trauma, and he's doing a lot to try to make sure that his wife doesn't find out what happened. He's just not ready to go there. And some women are like that, and some men, mostly the men that I work with, are sort of on that, where I mean, they will go to like, make sure you delete all emails, or, who's seeing you. They just do not want to open that can of worms. And one of them said to me today, I don't want her to know because what if she doesn't want to be with me anymore? Or what if she looks at me like, oh my God, I'm so sorry because people don't want that. We don't want I'm so sorry that happened to you. Like that's not what we want. That's not what you want. And his fear is she gonna think I'm somebody else? And he talks about how the inability to maintain effective relationships, and how he's been a runner in all of his relationships. And the reason he's been a runner is because he's kept this secret, and he feels like he's unfair to the other person because the other person is giving him all their all, like, oh, this is what happened to me from childhood until now. And so he feels like this person doesn't even know who I am, and if they knew who I am, they wouldn't be able to love me, they wouldn't want to love me, they wouldn't look at me the same. Or are they going to think that I was gay? That's what a lot of men think, right? Or wives saying, like, I don't want my husband to know, because I never talked about it, and then I don't want him to ask me questions because I don't even want to talk about it. Or people saying, I'm just not ready for them to know that side of me, but I feel like I'm in a fake relationship. That's what he said. I feel like I'm in a fake marriage because my wife has no clue who I really am. And he said, I don't know how you got it out of me. I don't know how you knew to ask me that question, but this is the first time I've ever said it out loud. And I knew I was going to go to my grave with this story. And he's not quite ready to tell his story, but and you have to be ready, to talk. I mean, that goes to anything. You have to be ready to go and tell your truth and be uncomfortably vulnerable. But he said he feels like he's in a fake marriage. He feels like his spouse doesn't even know who he is. So speaking to that, the bipolar, or the two different people. And then we talked about the one guy who, maybe that's the story that you were alluding to too, where he's been married 7 times, and his thing is he is obsessed with the gym, because when he went through his military sexual trauma, I mean, this guy was ginormous. He looked like a bodybuilder. He FaceTimed me. We had a Zoom call in the gym and just broke down. I mean, ginormous guy. But from that point on, after that situation happened, he was like, I will never allow somebody to take advantage of me again. And so, one of his biggest things in relationships is that he will never he in his mind has to go to the gym every day. He admittedly takes steroids. He's ginormous. And he's like, I will never allow somebody to. Well, sometimes what women do is we gain weight, because then we think, well, maybe if we're not attractive to somebody, then they're not going to come after us, because hey, maybe when that military sexual trauma happened, we were in the best shape of our lives. We were running a couple miles a day, we were in the weight room, we were teaching aerobics, we were teaching spinning. And now maybe if I make myself unattractive to men, then I'm saving myself from somebody possibly doing that again. And so there's so many different things that go into it, and so many men and women think, I never thought about that, but that's so true. I don't wear makeup, I don't do my hair, I don't wear sweat, I only wear sweats, I only wear, why do you, and it becomes a joke, like, oh yeah, you never get dressed, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I never get dressed, and so it's so true what you said. And I think sometimes people just hearing that they're not the only ones out there makes all the difference in the world. The guy today was like, how did you get that out of me? I've never, and he's like, I've been in therapy for 11 years. I've never said this out loud. And it was just a simple question. Something happened.
Mm-hmm.
And so something happened that changed. Something happened. And I talked to somebody else, the same thing. It wasn't military sexual trauma, but something happened. And sometimes I think it takes a while before, when veterans come to us, they come to us because they want to claim their knee.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next thing you know, you're talking about military sexual trauma, and they're like, I didn't even know I could do that. And so sometimes coming to these sessions, or this is like opening that can of worms that sometimes can be a slippery slope. But and then you came to see, and you're like, oh wow, yeah, I never thought I would talk about this, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's a better play. Going back to what I think Annette was saying about strategy, and that's why calls are so important with your benefit advisors, because that if I went to spend 48 minutes with this person today, that would have never came out, and he would have thought he was going to claim sleep apnea. And we all know how I feel about sleep apnea,
Hmm.
so
Yeah, but
that
but
was really it.
but that's the whole point, right? It's you may come in thinking it's one thing that you have to go tackle, but it's something to be said for something that's real, and feeling like, how did you get that out of me? Well, because I just
Hmm.
felt comfortable. I felt like I could. Um, Jerry, a question for you, and again, because you've been, to our sessions, our, orientation, our CMP preps, and all that, as someone who's kind of seen folks come in for the first time, give me some of your perspective as far as the environment, right? Because the information is the information, but the environment where people feel comfortable. And you've seen, and we've been in sessions where we have veterans that literally, have broken down or have expressed things that they've never done that, and there's just like being able to create this digital environment where people just feel like, you're a part of something. Give us your impressions of what you've seen, and to yourself, even you show up all the time. You could pretty much almost run and talk about the things we talk about, but you show up and you're there and you support. One, what are some of your thoughts, and what brings you back continuously to be part of that space that we create for veterans?
Well, it's just one of the only places that I have where I come and I'm just accepted for who I am, and and we've all got a backstory, but in the rest of my social life, I don't have a backstory. I'm just the one that's out front. It's the presenting face that I put on when I go out there, uh, and so. Uh, Well, there was one other thing that I wanted that came up. Well, I thought earlier that is kind of off your question, but uh, one of the concerns that I had was I kept telling myself, well, my my conditions and my uh, uh, disabilities are not that bad, and
Mm,
I'm just going to be taking money from somebody who deserves it more than I do.
Hmm.
Well, that's not
Yep.
true. There's plenty of money. Okay, you're not taking anything
Yes.
from anybody.
Yes.
Congress has appropriated plenty of money to pay the disability compensation, so
Hmm.
it can't hurt anybody. But this is back to the environment thing. It's an environment where I feel safe and I can say whatever I need to, and I know that it, it's it lets me open up to be who I really am.
mm,
And when I hear other folks uh, say, what their story is, uh, it really helps me be part of the team, feel like part of the brotherhood.
mm-hmm. And what does that mean for you, Jerry? Because so you got a service. What year did you leave service?
1979.
So from '79, right? Life lived, different things, all that happened there. But what did?
Well, when I came back from Vietnam, I was a changed man. Uh, I I no, nobody knew me after that.
Mm,
Uh, I, uh, I spent a year uh, at the aide to the commandant at the National War College, but I was terrible at that job. I was awful. I was always making mistakes and embarrassing the admiral, uh, not being prepared when he was supposed to be giving speeches and I was supposed to be there assisting him with stuff. I'd failed to provide the support that he needed, and I just really messed up. And so I just thought, well, I'm just not up to that job. I'm an engineer. I'm not an administrator. And so I just rationalized it that way. And then when I left active duty, uh, and uh, I began to have bouts of depression, and I kept hiding it.
Hmm.
And in 1990, uh, I had been in individual therapy for depression for several years, and in 1990, one of my uh, counselors, my civilian psychologist, suggested I go in as an inpatient for suicide. So I spent a week psychiatric ward in 1990. And when I came out of there, I really wasn't a whole lot different, but I had a little different perspective on life in some ways. But I continued in private therapy, and I used all kinds of therapies. I used psychiatrists and the medical route, and I tried uh, spiritual counselors and secular counselors, uh, and it, it went on, and then things just got worse. I mean, even now, I have I wake up in the night in a panic attack twice a week.
Yeah.
Even now, I sleep with a light on because uh, if I don't have a light, if I just have a little night light on, I I look around and I don't know where I'm at. I'm in a panic attack. I don't know where I'm at. You know, I'm scared for my life. I'm shaking in the bed, uh, and so what I do now is I sleep with a lamp on. You know, there's a big
Yep.
floor lamp over here. I keep that on all night. So when I wake up, I see, oh, this is my room. So very quickly, I come out of the panic attack by grounding myself. I've gone through the group courses at the VA, which were very good, and they worked for a little while. And there was one course we had a workbook, and we came up with a safety plan to keep us from doing the suicide thing. Right now, I'm only calling the suicide hotline about once a quarter. I used to call about once a month.
Mm.
Uh, nobody knows this. I mean, my wife didn't even know that I talked to the hotline. Uh, and there's no place that I can say that.
Mm.
And but this is the place.
And well, one, obviously, we love you, Jerry, and that's why we're here having this moment. But even to the point of that I think it's the part that it's missing, right? Like no one knows and sees those things,
Right.
and
Right.
you feel like you're alone. But someone else, when they hear that, it's just like, wait a second, I feel exactly how you feel. And one of the
Mhm.
things that I'm really big
Right.
on, and you've heard me say this before, Jerry, but those
Mhm.
listening as well or watching this on a replay, it's part of creating a club or tribe or something that we have together. It's
Mhm.
also the fact that we need, and I've said this before, and that's why I'm happy that Jerry's here, because you need to hear that sometimes from someone in your tribe who's been there. And I
Mhm.
mention that because in a tribe you have people in different stations of life. And Jerry, let's say, he's older in age, but he's an elder in our tribe, but there's still utility. And the fact that you have someone who felt that way, for some of our younger veterans today, with the astronomical amount of suicides and over information overload, and everything is so accessible online to where you access nothing, you end up in a place where you just don't know what to do. And to be able to say, you felt like this, Jerry, because this is how I feel, and you can be like, and to be able to hear the fact that you also feel that, you also have these moments. I thought I was
Mhm.
the only one. And to be
Yeah.
able to have, as a younger person, hearing an older veteran say that, it gives me that I'm not alone feeling. But then conversely, it also tells someone who is older, like, hey, you're not alone either. You have younger guys out here and gals out here dealing with these things. But one of the biggest things that I'm concerned about is if we don't talk about things like this as men and as women, the resiliency to get through things, given the information social media overload that we live in today, it's worse and harder for veterans. Because
Mhm.
before, if you think about it, right, bullying and things like that, you just, if you didn't turn on the news or watch or pick up the newspaper, you wouldn't know what's happening. But now everything is literally in your pocket, information overload. And when you start to look at the fact that the same ailments and fears and traumas that a veteran experienced in the 60s or experienced in the 90s or experienced in the 2010s or 20s, it's
Mhm.
still trauma to the body. But how a veteran processes when you have so many options, it's almost like some folks just feel like there is no hope, right? There is no, hey, let me take you by the wing and talk to you. Not diminishing your truth, not saying it's going to get better, because that's not the word here. It's sometimes something as simple as saying, and we do this internally where I don't do the whole, hey, are you having a bad day? No. If you're in a dark place, Well, guess what? We are all in a collective dark place. But if we're able to at least know that someone is there, I'll call Brian or I'll call Amy and I'm like, hey, look, I don't care if you ignore me. You may have a moment. You're going to have to answer at some point. You're going to come around at some
Right.
point. But the fact that you know that someone is at least able to understand that, hey, if you just need someone to sit with you in that dark place, then we can do that. And that's why on a Friday night, we're doing this, because veterans that would have reached out, to Jerry's point, where it's like, I look forward to spending time with you all because maybe this is the only thing I have to look forward to.
Yeah.
So what's the ROI for that? Where if one person, we can spend a few hours with them on a Friday night virtually and have this conversation and share these moments, and you walk away with at least the fact that, hey, I have something to look forward to. I think that's powerful, because for some veterans, there is not a lot of things they look forward to because things may have been strained, right? Relationships are gone. Battle buddies have passed. So you find yourself almost alone in a world that you don't recognize anymore because you're not attached to things. So being able to bring in some of our veterans who are displaced to a good degree socially, because again, I'm right here. Don't talk through me. I'm right here. And sadly, for people with disabilities, right, depending on what you're dealing with, people don't respect the fact that you're still here. Like, don't
Right.
talk through me. I'm not a vegetative person. You may see someone in the wheelchair, like, I'm right here. Like, don't try to speak for me, right? So, hey, Jerry, you're still here. You tell me how it feels. You talk to me. You tell me something, because sometimes we just go into this narrative of like, well, Jerry needs this and Jerry needs that. It's like, you do realize Jerry is there. You do realize you can just ask him the question. And giving someone the respect that they earn, regardless of what may be happening, gives you a sense of control, especially as a veteran who has lost control. One point I'll share very quickly is that for veterans who don't have control of a lot of things, i.e., Jerry cannot control night terrors. It just happens.
Yeah.
You can't control psychologically what I deal with. Amy can't control what she deals with, nor can Brian. So medically, psychologically, we can't control things. And over time, we start to lose grasp more and more of the things we can't control. So if we have the ability to have access to at least something that we can control, I know at least I can look forward to hanging out with y'all and being here for a little bit, or I can at least present myself here and not have to worry about how I'll be looked or judged or whatever. That gives me something back, because we've lost a lot of things. We've lost access. We've lost dexterity. We've lost ability. We've lost agility. We've lost ourselves sometimes. And to that point, what's powerful when I hear Jerry say that is that you at least can kind of, it's like Cheers, right? You just go someplace where everybody knows your name. And it doesn't matter what you drink or what you do. Sometimes you just want to be someplace where you can just be, and you can be off cuff and you can say what you want to say and not have to worry about the past 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years of someone saying, don't say that, or don't say that. If you think about it, we live in a world where it's everything is don't say that, right? Brian, don't say that. That's a little too much. Brian, reel it back. A little too much. Amy, watch out now. That's a little too much. Jerry, cut it down. It's a little too much. I can't anywhere have freedom to even say what the fuck I want to say. Whoa, too many F-bombs. Jesus effing Christ. So where do I go to just at least be able to just be? So if you think about it, right, what do we find? We have to find somewhere to do this, or somewhere to go, or eventually you just start to die inside more and more. So to have the ability in any shape, fashion, or form to connect with someone, whether it be on camera or through chat, at least you know there's someone that just knows your name, who knows you, who comes up and can be able to say, hey, Jerry's good to see you. Or, hey, Brian, where you been? Or it's been a long time since I haven't seen y'all. So those little things mean a lot, because if you say, hey, again, we could do awareness things all day, but I'm big on action. This is action. This is us saying, awareness of suicide, we understand it. So let's hold space. Let's be together. Let's have conversation. Let's normalize the fact that, you know what? I went from making a call to the suicide line monthly to quarterly. Like, that's a success. That is something. Again, it's not an overnight process, but hey, something has happened that we went from a monthly call that no one knew about to a quarterly call. And maybe, just maybe, we keep doing those little things that have helped us. And granted, like physical therapy, you may not get full control of that leg mobility that you lost, but you work around and build other muscles and find ways to move again. And guess what? I may not run how I used to, but I can walk it again. I can try again. I can talk again. I can learn again. I can ask a question again. And together, that's what's happening. So, to Jerry's point of sharing that, that's the power of, hey, everyone is helping in some shape, fashion, or form by even sharing that. Because you may not think about this, but if that one person can say something like, I have night terrors, or I've called the hotline, and no one ever knew that. Someone else is saying, I have night terrors, and I called the hotline, and no one ever knew that either. I thought it was just me. Well, guess what? Now, the pain of isolation, the pain of being alone, it doesn't sting as much when you're not isolated in your pain. Now, consider that real quick. The isolation of being in pain and alone hurts 3 times because you have pain, you have being alone, and then you have isolation. But when you have pain and you're alone, but you know that someone out there at least is going through a similar thing, you're not isolated. Again, I didn't say it got better. I just said that you dealt with 3 demons there: pain, loneliness, isolation. No one feels like me, and I'm alone, and I'm in pain. But maybe today, I'm in pain, I am alone, but Jerry feels like me, so I'm not isolated. So even in that small slither, guess what? Just one thing can be remedied in the sense that I'm not detached. It's not just me, but there is commonality by being able to share those little things. And when folks share things, they don't think it means something. It's like it means a lot to say those words because someone, to Amy's point, is not in a place yet that they can say those words, that they can share that. And it's like, well, I didn't have the words to say this, but Jerry said them for me. So that gives me the ability to say those words. I didn't know how to put that together. And you think about it, like, what do you mean? Like, no, I did not understand how to say that. You literally put into words what I've been dealing with, but I just couldn't say the words. And hearing you say the words normalizes it so that I can also say, me too. And that slowly begins to process. So there's power in that piece there. And I think that's just something I wanted to highlight as to what we're doing because I think it matters. I love the conversations that are happening. Again, this is why we put this together, right? This masterclass, these resources on how to put things together and have other options. Heading over to our website, seeing what's available. All these things are there to be able to help, to be able to support. Jump in, take a look. That's why we endeavor to create and do because it matters, and we think it definitely is obviously something that does help. So as we start to kind of wind it down, we'll kind of go round robin here. But Brian, I'll kick it over to you for some thoughts as we start to kind of index here. But some points that you would share as far as kind of the theme that we're really talking about, which has really been just this community, what we're building, where we're at, and going forward. But some of your thoughts for the listeners.
Yeah, and if you actually to kind of go along with that, if you can pull the website back up and go to the claim support page, um, I mean, here our team on the backside is working constantly. Um, Even on this page, if you scroll down to the images that keep funneling through, it's now this is why we're here. We've got our fellow team members and in our different experiences, whether they're from service or even in current day. Because man, I tell you what, it feels so good to get together with DP and with Amy, and when we get together and are able to just enjoy each other's company and support each other, and as well as Reggie and Vernon and everybody else on the team, that when we can get together, um, that togetherness and that support is really it's indescribable to me, and how that feels, and how that uplifts my spirit, to be able to do that. Um, but I love the fact that Jerry was able to come on tonight. Jerry, I mean, that gum, super trooper, even though I know Navy's not trooper, but whatever. I like the word. Um, just even after going through all he's gone through, um, 10 hours after having a procedure, and he's here with us online. Um, I mean, I think I would have been in bed, watching TV and sucking on my bottle of water or something. But no, uh, it's just the community, and it's the genuineness of everybody who's here with a in real and true intent in trying to help fellow vets improve their position, whether it's getting the benefits, being able to share various educational information about how they can accomplish what they need to accomplish. And there's other stuff that's coming down the road as well, even beyond the VA benefits. That it's a holistic interest and view and true caring for the vets. And again, I go back to the look at our team page, an organization that supports disabled veterans and disabled civilians first. That says a lot to how they're going to take care of the clients that they support as well. And those there are other organizations that might claim this, but may not actually exercise the true, genuine care that we experience here. So I'm just thankful for what we have here today, and God's blessings. There's a time and season for everything, and I'm thankful for this time and season, for sure, and the ability for us to deliver what we've got. Um, I'm just thankful for that. This is what gets me out of bed.
Thank you. And so, and that's why I kind of just will leave it there. As to when you get to our website, the first thing that you'll see is what service means to us, right? So we could sit here and talk about a lot of stuff. That's all good and dandy. Yes, we have 50 years of collective experience. We've been in the game for a number of years, and thousands of veterans that have been supported in so many safe fashion and forms, both directly and indirectly. But all that is a result of service. From the fact that, hey, when it was just one person listening or watching or doing something, right? We did it because it mattered, and the ROI was long term. And when you start to look at the fact that the ROI of doing something like this created a pathway for someone like Brian to be here today, and Amy to be here today, and Jerry to share his story, that ROI is how can you put a price to that? Because again, right, 2019, I wouldn't have thought that a person who kept showing up and commenting would be today helping veterans the way she is in Amy. So that's the part there that people don't realize of, hey, today you may be going through the process or a journey, but as we continue to build and grow, we have the ability to bring more people to the fold to support and serve. So this is what service means to us when you see our page, because it's what's important, right? The first thing we want someone to see is why we do what we do and who we are. And that's why we put our bio in there, who we are and what we've done in our background and all that, because it matters. So it's different, it's unique to us, and I like the fact that we can do it our way, a la Frank Sinatra. Brian, before I move to Amy, advice you'd have for someone watching out there this evening?
Sorry, was that for me or for
Yep.
Amy? I did.
No, before I go to Amy, your any advice you'd have for someone out there?
Oh, you know, you have support. You have support, whether it's through these resources. If you and I can tell you, just reach out and talking to somebody can be difficult, and that's another reason why, and implicitly, I really appreciate us being able to provide things like this web course, because quite frankly, sometimes we just don't want to talk to another human being, and having that ability to get that kind of support, and navigate this it'll come, and it just takes time necessarily, in some cases, to break through that wall of protection, self protection. Um, but don't wait. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're hearing us tonight, and you're on the fence as to whether you deserve or whether you should claim, whether you don't want to take money away from somebody else is but worse off. Those are all excuses. They're bad excuses at the end of the day, um, because it's there for you. It's there for that every veteran um, that falls within the law of eligibility, and that's most of the veterans. And just
Mm-hmm.
stop procrastinating. Every day that you go by without getting what you need for yourself and your family, that's just, gosh, I mean, when you put it down to dollars and cents, if that's what it takes, you're missing out on tens and thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars in benefits that are due to you, because you keep putting it off. Stop.
Mm-hmm. Amy, over to you for some of your closing thoughts.
Oh,
There it is.
I can't. Yeah,
It's
there
not
it is.
doesn't it doesn't work the
Air
same with that
Force.
mic.
Oh,
So go
sorry.
ahead.
Over to Amy. I
Oh,
forgot my
oh,
microphone
oh,
too.
yeah, yeah. Air Force is the best. No. Um, so I want to say thank you to Jerry for joining us tonight. And I want to say, when I was listening to Jerry speak about some things that he was saying, it really resonates with when sometimes I feel like, even though DP provides us space, which we're very thankful for. Thank you, DP, for that. Um, Sometimes hearing testimonials like yours, Jerry, can be more impactful than sometimes what we hear, because people are resonating with what you said. And so sometimes, that makes all the difference. Is, you come and, people get used to hearing us talk, but really the true gems that get taken away sometimes are like things that you said. So thank you for being vulnerable and opening up and coming and being willing to come on, and finally, after so long, I mean, you're one of our biggest OG supporters that we've had, so thank you. And I know that that's not always easy, so I want to give you your flowers and say thank you for coming. And of course, DP, for providing this space for us to be available to veterans. And Brian, you're just the greatest, so thank you for all that you do too. He's like my go-to guy with all my, Brian, can I get this link? Brian, can I get that link? Like, he's the best. So I'm just thankful to be here and thankful to be a part of the team, and thankful to be, in this community. And I would say, just to remember that the heaviest thing to pick up is a phone. And so check on your strong friends, just like DP said. And this was very true to what he said before about how, sometimes as teammates, we may know that somebody's down, and we'll just keep texting and calling, and like, we know what you're doing, you're avoiding us, but we'll keep bugging you because eventually you're going to pick up the phone. And so sometimes that's what you need for the, even your strong friends. So the heaviest thing to pick up is a phone, and be there, check on your strong friends, and take care of yourself. And of course, please come back and join us again. You can follow us on all of the social media pages and see when we're going Friday Night Live or what we have coming up. And that is it. You guys have a great rest of your weekend. I'm going to be going to the Air Force football game tomorrow.
Oh Lord, nice little slide in there.
Yes.
But yeah, no, we appreciate obviously everyone supporting and joining us in this process, right? It's a labor of love to a good degree, and
Mhm.
it's not unique and it's not conventional, and that's quite all right. So we appreciate obviously all the support and all the things that are coming online, and seeing the seeds that we've planted over time begin to kind of come around. So I'm really happy that we were able to go from having this evenings like this, and having someone like Jerry commenting and showing up and supporting and telling us his branch of service and us having to get his duty 214 and proof for his age and all that, to be able to break bread and be here, and kind of really see the evolution of, you go from strangers to a good degree to people that you just now begin to look forward to, right? Where it's just like, okay, where's Jerry at? I don't see him. And sometimes Jerry would reach out and he'd be like, hey, I'm kind of under the weather, or I can't make it, or I'm not available, but I'll be there
Mhm.
next time. And you're like, I'll be looking for you. And I mean, that whole, evolution of being in a place like this now and having an evening like this, it means a lot for us because it's for the people, it's for the veterans. It's not just for us to just be here, but it's to create space and to show folks that, hey, today it's us, but tomorrow it can be you, and tomorrow, someone else can share and be part of the conversation. So I'm really grateful for that. So the biggest thing is, support where you can support, help where you can help, lend a hand, be involved, right? Because that's what a club's about. That's what a tribe's about. So we're very grateful for that. Jerry, I'll give it to you for your thoughts or words that you may have for someone out there watching and listening, as we close. So we'll give you the mic. But we appreciate you being with us here this evening, my brother.
Well, I want to say how much I thank you for inviting me to join in tonight. I'd just like to add one more thing that you, we talked about some pretty vulnerable things tonight. I shared some things that I hadn't shared with other places, and Amy did too, and Brian and DP, and that's the level of vulnerability that you got to be when you're writing up these
Mm.
personal statements, and
Yep.
and when you go to your C&P exam, you got to just lay it out there, and they don't want to know what your symptoms are. That's in your medical records. That's a matter of record already. Don't be redundant and tell them what your symptoms are, but tell them what your symptoms are doing to your life, like my dizziness and my vertigo and my weakness in my legs from peripheral neuropathy, and not being able to sleep at night and being tired all the time keeps me from playing t-ball with my grandsons, that sort of thing.
Mm.
And uh,
Yeah.
that's the level that we need to get to. So it's been a great place to be tonight, and I'm glad I had the opportunity to be here, even though I just had heart surgery yesterday and got out of the hospital today. So
That
good to
is,
be here.
What?
we he he would not say no. So yes, Jerry has heart surgery and still says I'm showing up. I'm like, oh no.
There's a reason why Jerry doesn't turn around because he doesn't want to show his cape.
Jerry put his shirt over his gown.
It was just a catheter
Oh my
procedure,
gosh,
but
Jerry.
what?
I will say when Lisa, who does all of she's like the brains behind like our biographies and stuff like that. She warned us. She was like, "Look, there is no shortening. There is no shortcut here. We cannot shortcut his bio. Everything that he said is important, and you outshine all of us, Jerry. So
Well,
I
I
think
don't
your
think so.
bio is going to take over our page.
I'm done.
But thank you for being here. That's amazing.
Yeah,
Wow. If I had a migraine, I wouldn't have showed up, Jerry. You had heart surgery.
That's what
Well,
I'm
I'm
saying.
just to quote Lisa. Jerry is a beast in that regard.
Yes. Wow.
Um,
That's amazing,
but I
Jerry.
think, but
Well, I
but
hope you're feeling okay. I hope you're doing
yeah,
okay.
after
yeah,
he's
I'm
been
doing
hanging
good.
out
I
with
mean,
us
it
like
looks
a
like
beast
you're
this whole
doing
time.
great, but
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
looks
But I
like
think
you're doing
it
great.
speaks to,
Well,
he
I'm having
wanted
a
to
lot
be a
of
part of
pain,
this,
but
obviously.
I just live
To
in a lot of pain. You know.
but
What'd you say?
I said I'm in a lot of pain, but I just live in a lot of pain.
it's his baseline basically.
Yeah.
But to the deep truth there, right? It matters, right? And I think that speaks volumes also to Jerry, because it's not a him thing, but it's understanding being on the other side of things like this, right? It's like, hey, maybe someone can hear something that might be helpful. So, being present, it goes to show that, hey, that grit that we have for the mission, for the person to our left and to our
Mm-hmm.
right. That's really what really it's always
Yeah.
been about. It's not about the
Yeah.
big objective. It's about the person to your left and your right. And you know what? Jerry's like, nah, we said we're gonna do this. I'm showing up. And it's like, you can take a knee. He's like, nope, we move as a team. I'm like, well, I guess we're moving.
Okay.
you know? Um,
Well, thanks a lot.
yeah, no, I appreciate you, my brother. So Thanks for everyone again for being here with us. This is just the beginning with much more to follow. Thank you, everybody who showed up, and keep following, keep sharing, keep joining. And we will say good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Air Force is the best.
Oh, don't share that crazy narrative.
I forgot to put Brian's dancing video on.
I know. We're gonna do better next time.
I know Reggie did not just say shake my head because I said Air Force is the best.
I'm pretty sure that was the case.
Reggie.